She is very nice, but she's. No, I made a joke about. I forget what it was. It didn't go well, and I learned my lesson too. And it was before. It was when I worked there before. Wasn't it the second job? Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's just never really cared for me much. Oh man. I mean, we always.
That's been good.
That makes sense. I think he was I think he worked for
I guess we're ready. Okay. I have to use the old-fashioned. Look at this. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Paris Planning. That's in case anyone was asleep. City of Paris Planning Commission, February 2nd, 2022, and it's approximately 6:07 p.m. And we will start off with a call to order. Prior to that, let me say, COVID-19 remote public comment, citizen participation, with the intent of adhering to the new community guidelines from the Center for Disease Control, the City of Paris will allow for remote public comment and participation at the upcoming Planning Commission, well, this meeting, via Zoom, and it's limited to 3 minutes. I'll put that in quotes. Zoom meeting for when is February 2nd, 6 p.m., topic Planning Commission, and you can join this Zoom meeting using the link below, or if you go to the website, I think this particular document is there for the city website. I don't want to go into Zoom US 64. Okay, meeting ID is 642-558-532, and then you have a one-tap mobile, and there's a series of phone numbers. I don't think anyone here is in Chicago, right? Okay. During the Planning Commission meeting, if you wish to speak for public comment on any item, please select and raise hand icon next to your name. The moderator will grant you access to speak. And once again, we will try to limit it to 3 minutes. Okay? So if we can call it to order.
Commissioner Lopez? Here. Commissioner Jimenez?
Here.
Commissioner Gomez?
Here.
Vice Chair Shively? Here. Chair Hammond?
Here. At this time, we'll have a moment of silence, and we could go ahead and stand, and the Pledge of Allegiance from Commissioner Jimenez.
Please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And thank you for that. We got item number 5 is presentation, and I don't think we have a presentation today. Number 6, consent calendar. Planning Commission minutes for January 19, 2022. And first and foremost, did anybody have any corrections, additions, or deletions? Seeing none, we open it up for public comment for the consent calendar. Seeing none or hearing none from Zoom, and I'll be shocked when I hear it, we will ask for a vote. I mean, a motion, sorry. Okay, the motion by Commissioner Jimenez, seconded by Commissioner Lopez. Okay.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes.
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
With the vote of 5 yes, this motion passes.
Thank you very much. And we move to the public hearing. Item 7A. The scoping meeting for an environmental impact report associated with Development Plan Review 20-00007. Specific Plan Amendment 21-05267. And tentative parcel map 38259. It is a proposal to construct a 668 square foot industrial buildings on 35.7 acres, located at the northeastern corner of Paterson Avenue and Nance Street within the GI or General Industrial Zone of the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan area. The applicant is DJ Arlano, Duke Realty Limited Partnership. Let me say this before it even starts, that I feel really open. If you want to comment, I will expect the city attorney would comment at any time, so feel free if you need to keep us on track. You don't feel like I'm intimidated, I'd be happy. Also, he's going to emphasize it, Matthew, that this is a scoping meeting. So it is not a developmental plan review, it's not a TPM, it's a scoping meeting, so we want to just keep that in mind, okay? Requested action is conduct a public scoping meeting to review, discuss, and provide comments regarding the proposed project for the preparation of an environmental impact report. And we have Matthew.
Yes, thank you,
As
Chair
a
Hammond,
presenter.
Planning Commissioners. The purpose of the public scoping meeting is to inform the public that the lead agency, which is the City of Paris, is evaluating the Duke Paterson Nance Industrial Project, otherwise known as the design plan that you mentioned, 21-00007, under CEQA, and to solicit public comment regarding the type and extent of environmental analysis to be undertaken. And with that in mind, we'll start the presentation. So the scoping session purpose is to provide a general description of the proposed project, outline the environmental issues that will be addressed in the EIR based on the project review, provide opportunity for local agencies and the public to comment on the scope and content of the draft EIR. And last, the scoping session is a public hearing. However, there is no required action required at this time for the proposed project. So this is an aerial view of the project. This sits on 35.7 acres. It is located southeast of the Interstate 215 Harley Knox Boulevard interchange between Paterson Avenue and Nance Street, south of Harley Knox Boulevard. The project is located in the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan. General Industrial, GI, is the zone designation. Again, this is the specific plan, and this is the location of that within the specific plan. As you can see, it's located within that GI zone. Next slide. So for the March Air Reserve Base ALUC compatibility, the project site is located within the airport overlay zone. The project is not in a airport accident potential zone 1 or 2, and the project site is located completely within compatibility zone B2. So this is the site plan. As you can see, the building footprint is 759,668 square feet. That includes 751,668 square feet of warehouse, 8,000 square feet of office, and a 10,000 square foot mezzanine. Circulation and truck haul route. A designated truck route, Harley Knox Boulevard from Paterson Avenue. Truck travel to the site is achieved from I-215 freeway via Harley Knox Boulevard and Paterson Avenue. Vehicle access, that would be cars and trucks and autos, to the site is achieved from Nevada Avenue. So building elevations, these are the conceptual building elevations. As I noted in the staff report, staff is still working with the applicant to finalize the conceptual elevations, but these are, we'll just kind of go through them quickly for you so you get an idea. Again, this is a modern industrial architecture. This is painted concrete tilt-up panels with low reflective materials. Maximum height is 45 feet. These are the east-west elevations. So for the purpose of CEQA, the purpose is to provide information to the decision makers and the public about the scope of the project, disclose potential environmental impacts, identify ways to minimize and avoid significant environmental effects of the project. So again, this is the EIR process. Obviously, we are here at the scoping meeting, so the next step is the draft EIR. And then, of course, we'll have public agency review and comment. And while it's still in the draft phase, we'll have public agency review, a comment for the draft as well. And then the final EIR is still public agency review, and then ultimately EIR certification at the public hearing. So the notice of preparation, staff determined that an EIR was necessary based on the review of the project. Therefore, an environmental checklist initial study was not required or completed. NOP circulated for CEQA public review was on January 19th, 2022. It's a 30-day review. NOP 30-day comment period ends on February 17th, 2022. Environmental factors that will not be analyzed in the draft EIR: agriculture and forestry resources, mineral resources, population, housing, and wildfire. Environmental factors to be analyzed in the draft EIR include aesthetics, air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, energy, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use planning, noise, public services, recreation, transportation, tribal cultural resources, utilities, and service systems. Comment on the scope EIR analysis. If you would like to comment, please fill out a speaker request form. Please limit comments to the EIR related issues so that the city can address your comments on the content of the draft EIR. And please note that the scoping meeting, although it is a public hearing, it is for information purposes only, and no decisions on the proposed project will be made at this time during this hearing. And of course, all written comments for the NOP and the scoping session can be mailed, emailed, or hand-delivered to myself, Matthew Evans, the project planner, City of Paris, Planning Division, 135 North D Street, Paris, California, 92570, or at my email address, which is very simple. It's mevans@cityofparis.org. My phone number is 951-943-5003, extension 115, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much, sir. And at this time, are there any questions or discussions with staff concerning this scoping process or any of the issues that have been brought up lately? Either direction.
I'll go ahead and start.
Okay, Commissioner Gomez.
Good evening. Thank you for your presentation.
Oh, we'll be, since I think we're on Zoom, we probably have to say Commissioner Gomez. I know, it's a lot. Commissioner Gomez.
You did.
Okay, for the Zoom people.
The Zoom people.
Okay,
Oh,
thanks.
this is Commissioner Gomez.
Okay.
Let's see. Can you please go back to the presentation to the page where it talked about the review process of 30 days?
Yes.
Okay, so it's in circulation at this time, is that correct? Is that
That-
what I'm understanding?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, so it is available for the public to view at this time?
Yes.
Okay, I just want the public to know. Let's see. And just to confirm, the 30-day comment period ends on February 17th of 2022. And I'm pretty sure that's also listed under circulation. Just so that the community is aware that this is available at this time. And where can they pick up a copy of this review? Is it at the city office, City of Paris office? I believe right now it's in print, and it can be picked up next to the main office, the reception area. I believe they're right there. So if anyone in the public would like to look at this and review it for themselves, please do so, since right now we are in the process of just looking at the scope of this project. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Oh,
So I don't know if I want to.
Commissioner.
Oh, Commissioner Lopez. Good evening. My question, I don't know if this could go to staff or to the applicant. I'm just curious, how feasible is it for a project of this size to implement solar panels as a form of energy source to mitigate the amount of energy consumption?
That's a great question. I do have the applicant is here, and I also have the applicant CEQA consultant, Eliza Laws with the Webb and Associates. I don't know which one wants to answer that question, but both of the applicant and Eliza are available to answer that question.
Mr. Chair, if
Go
I may,
ahead, go right ahead.
perhaps we can, Commissioner Lopez, you can reserve that question until the applicant has an opportunity to do a presentation as well.
Okay, yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay. Oh, Commissioner, you can,
Can we go back to the
Okay.
one, I
Jimenez.
know, Commissioner Jimenez, sorry.
that's okay.
Can we go back to the one that has the overview, just so we can look at the traffic? I was trying to like make out where people go in, where they go out, just
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The site plan?
that one, please.
Yes.
So you said vehicle, like personal vehicle would be on Nevada?
Correct.
Okay, but there's also truck stalls there, right? Those are all truck stalls?
Actually, truck access to the site is achieved from Paterson and Harley Knox. So Paterson, on Paterson runs parallel
Right.
to the left, and then northward would be Harley Knox. So if we can get, I'll actually go to the first overview, kind of give you a better idea of how the truck traffic to the site is achieved. So obviously Harley Knox intersection at 215 to the northwest there, and then those trucks would travel eastward and then southeastward to Paterson Avenue, and then down Paterson Avenue, and then back into the site.
Okay, I guess my concern is because there's going to be 64 docks on the east side, 49 docks on the west side. So there's going to be, according to this site plan, a lot of interaction between personal vehicles and the big rigs, right? If they're going through Nevada, all those look like they're parkings for trailers.
It looks like the auto should be coming off of Paterson.
Okay.
Because all the autos is on the west side, and there's no auto on the east side.
But the entrance for vehicles, for personal vehicles, is on Nevada, right?
Actually, it should be on Paterson because the auto vehicles is on the west side.
Okay. So on Peterson, and then that little pocket in the bottom left, that's also parking?
The bottom left is auto parking, and then the northwest and I guess south, and then the southwest is the auto parking.
Okay. And big rigs are coming where? I'm just trying to get like a layout of where of the traffic flow itself.
The applicant can elaborate, but the way it's laid out, they have the option to go on Paterson and then to go out of Nevada Avenue. Now, I believe on Nevada, it's only a right in on Nevada going south if they were to go to the truck parking along the east side of the site.
Well, yeah, that's truck, and this is probably blocked off, so it can go through here. I just want to make sure, that's one of our main focuses, is that there isn't a lot of commingling between personal vehicles and big rigs. So I'm trying to make sense of how they're going to be separated, and pedestrians, because if that's the little lines going through where big rigs are going to be coming through, I see 2 places where there's pedestrians having to cross in between big rigs. That I think is my biggest concern, is just trying to avoid commingling as much as possible, just for safety reasons. So I keep looking at trying to figure out a route.
Can I add to your question or concern? How many lanes are on Paterson, or will there be? Are there planned for Paterson? Mr. Engineer? This is Commissioner Gomez.
Good evening, Chairman Hammond, Planning Commissioners. Commissioner Gomez, Paterson is going to be a 4-lane thoroughfare.
Will it have a center median?
No raised median, no.
No raised median. Is there potential for raised median?
No, not per our general plan circulation element. So actually, truck access will be from Paterson. It'd be one way going in and one way exiting. The southerly driveway would line up with, I believe it's California. No, the northerly would be lined up with California. The southerly would line up with Nance. But Nance is going to be vacated within that segment. So trucks will be entering the site from Nance, the southerly driveway,
Okay.
and then they'll be exiting from the northerly.
Okay.
But from what I remember, we haven't totally figured out the whole
Yeah.
circulation of it at this time. But we were thinking of allowing the truck access from Nevada also
Nevada.
coming in, because they can make from Harley Knox, they can make a right on that, on Nevada to go south, to
Okay.
enter the site. But we're still working on the actual circulation of the site at this
Okay,
time.
you're still working
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, are you?
No, just, I'm glad you're still working on it. I like how you said if they go in on Nance, they have to exit, because it does seem to be very isolated, and that could be like a nice raised area and completely separate passenger vehicle from that area. So now I would like to see what happens on the other side. So, okay, but that's still being worked out.
Yeah, well, we're cognizant of, we don't want the commingling of the
Pedestrians.
autos and trucks, and if pedestrians do cross, we make sure they make all the provisions, safety provisions, in the event there is crossing.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I do have a follow-up question on that.
Commissioner Gomez.
This is Commissioner Gomez. So we would appreciate some kind of, this is my question. I know that, I believe that landscape has to do with environmental impact. So is there a landscape for this project? Because I don't see it. I see the green, but I don't see what's in it. Is there a pedestrian pathway on here? I don't see one.
Well, at this point with the scoping, they're just giving you the basic site plan at this point. So
Okay.
later on, and even the applicant is not going to get too detailed. But at this point, yeah, we all have questions. It's because it's scoping, we're kind of hands tied. So they're just giving you basically a blueprint of entrances and exits. So it's kind of hard to, not because we're question answering commission, but at this time, because it's scoping, we want to kind of keep it for the environmental issues. So, Go ahead. Commissioner Gomez.
Within this review that we're going to do, we're also going to look at the transportation impact, right? Because that was one of the EIR items, because there's going to be potentially 113 more big rigs using Harley Knox and the 21560 connection plus the employees. So that is something that is going to be. And I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that section and freeway, that is out of our control, right? That's all Caltrans. Or is that?
I have to speak with our city engineer. I'll get back to you, but part of the Harley Knox is partially controlled by RCTC, so we have to coordinate with them.
And as far as there only being 2 lanes, once you hit the 215 north, that's out of our hands, right, completely?
Are you referring to the on-ramp and off-ramp?
No, once you're on the actual freeway, once you're heading north and you want to head 60 east or west, there's only 2 lanes, so that's a lot more traffic on the exchange, on the interchange.
Yeah, that's something that our city engineer is working with RCTC on a plan. There is some funding in place to kind of look at that at this point. So, but I don't know all the details at this point. I can report back to you
Okay,
at a later point.
perfect. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Shively, Jack. Is there, other than a reason that there is very few or zero residences near this property, is there any reason why it is not going to be part of the EIR investigated?
You're speaking to why housing and get to the actual, so population and housing are not analyzed in the EIR?
Yeah.
So the project being located in the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan has the zoning of general and industrial. So the property is already designated as is industrial. So I think that's why there's no housing to be looked at this site. So that's why it's not being considered. And because all the surrounding properties too, I believe for the most part, I don't think there's any housing. I shouldn't say there's no housing near here. I should say with the majority of this area being within the Paris Valley Commerce Center zoning for either industrial or light industrial, general industrial, there is no housing close by that the project would have necessary impacts to. So I believe that's why it's not being looked at.
Yeah, if there is, it's non-conforming.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So I just wonder why, because it's not in there because it's not a housing element or housing within a particular distance to the property. Is that basically correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just one after, unless someone else has something. One quick observation, because I know so we can move on. And this is going to be strictly for this scoping thing. When you're talking, could you kind of generally, I have a general understanding, but so everyone understands out there. It's a spec building, so we're talking about VMTs based on the PVC original designation that if this is so much square footage, you're saying there's going to be this many vehicles. So when you do the analysis, is it based on that? Or how do we do the analysis so they can understand, how do we explain when we say what's going to be particularly 120? Is it based on spaces? Is it based on the fact that warehouses with this square footage will have this number of employees? How do you do the VMTs? Well, since we don't do LOS anymore, well, the city does, but the VMTs, would that be determined and how would you look at that? And that may be somebody that's off the camera here or Zoom might have to answer. Yeah. But you see where I'm going. We're saying VMTs are going to be this, we're going to measure the VMTs, but that's based on the number of traffic, and you're assuming, based upon transportation studies, I don't want to get into all those details, but transportation studies that are done, so you're establishing or estimating this is going to be this many employees within a radius of, 40 miles? So would somebody just go into a little bit of detail without taking an hour
Sure.
as to how that's determined for this project and all projects that are similar to this?
Sure. This is a speculative warehouse, the speculative industrial project, obviously. So when analyzing traffic, the highest use that could be potentially in that building is what's going to be analyzed. So it could be analyzed or potentially for a distribution warehouse facility that would have high traffic concentration. You may not get that there. You may obviously get something that's, that has a lesser impact on the transportation and circulation to the site. So, but the highest use is the one that's analyzed.
And I only mention that because in measuring and making this is Commissioner Hammond. If you're looking at and I'm just using Amazon as an example that goes 24/7 constantly.
Sure.
You may have 4,000 or 5,000 employees, who knows how many.
Yeah.
Constantly go, and then you have trucks, and you also have passenger vehicles that are maxed out. So if we don't know what's going to be in there, so our best, like you're saying, you're going to the highest capacity, whether it's refrigerated or non-refrigerated. I guess it doesn't matter. It's just a matter based upon the square footage and the potential use. So when we do that VMTs, we're making an estimation, right? So we're not sure what's in there, so you got to kind of give the
Yes.
the really go to the highest potential use of that area.
Right.
And that way you can determine.
Right.
Okay, just so we understand.
The most intense use allowed in the general industrial zone designation is what is being analyzed. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'm good.
Commissioner Hammond, excuse me.
Okay.
In response to the question, Commissioner, the VAT number of lanes on Paterson is actually 2 lane with a center turn lane. It's not a 4-lane thoroughfare. Wanted to correct that.
Yeah, I
Sorry
was
about
wondering.
that. Yeah.
Thank you for that. And so we definitely, obviously, at this point, if they can continue to work with the applicant to make sure that there's enough space to be able to accommodate vehicles, and the potential trucks are going to be coming in and out of there. And as always, I know this is just the scope, but make sure that take into consideration that because this is an industrial building and that all considerations be made in regards to aesthetics and making sure that this is pleasant and also pedestrian friendly. That's it. Thank you.
Excuse me.
It's Commissioner Jimenez, and I'm just gonna throw in the landscaping too, just because, we wanna make it pretty, and also I think plants, trees, that also kind of helps mitigate some of the exhaust from trucks and vehicles and all those things. So, there's plants that are a little bit more cleansing than others, so just please keep that in mind if possible. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for staff? Okay. And I should have disclosed myself. I did drive in that area and take a look at it. I should have asked that at the beginning. It's a scope meeting, so it wasn't like, but I did go in that area, and there's some properties around there, and I'll just leave it alone. But yeah, seeing where this is, just to get a scope of where it's at and the width of the street, and I think that's where you start looking at, the vehicle miles, whether there would need to be signs, whether there'd be additional monies or hardly not. So that's one of the things when you talk about doing the study and all the other things, it's taking consideration what's in that area and would be the cumulative impact, of course. Okay. More questions for staff? Is there any questions for staff on the Zoom? Well, there wouldn't be questions for staff on the Zoom. Is it time for scoping meeting? Scoping meeting. The next thing would be, do we have any presentation from the applicant? You gotta remember, scoping meeting. Can't help it.
There you go. And you could just toggle.
Thank you so much.
Okay, sir, if you just state your full name and spell your last name for us.
Sure. My name is DJ Arlano, Arellano, with Duke Realty. First, want to thank staff, Kenneth and Matthew and his team for getting us here in front of everybody today. Duke's been a longtime partner with the city. We have owner and operator of many buildings in the city, including our flagship Wayfair buildings here. And we're really excited to get this one another quality building before you. We are diligent in monitoring planning commission hearings. We know that the commission really wants to separate truck and autos. We knew that ahead of time. We tried to do the best we can to totally separate to the extent possible. We have 2 separate truck-only entrances, 2 separate auto-only entrances. Actually, there's 3 truck-only, so one's coming off of Nevada. So we really tried to be diligent in separating it to the greatest extent possible. We think we did a really good job at that. We also know that the commissioners like some Chinese elm trees. We're going to be including that in our landscape palette. So we do monitor and we do watch planning commission. We've been here a long time, and we're really excited to get this another one project going forward. So with that, I am here along with my team via Zoom to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. And keeping in mind, as I need to do to myself, this is a scoping meeting. I have to remind myself, so I do this too. A scoping meeting, so if you have any questions related to some of the things proposed in this study, I think you had a few questions, but again, this is not a proposal for the actual thing. So if there are any questions for the applicant at this time, right, left, right.
I have a question. This is Commissioner Gomez. Thank you so much for the information, and thank you for pointing out the fact that we've been paying attention. So that really matters. Question, and please feel free to let me know if this can be answered or not. Is this a built-to-suit project?
No, it's currently a speculative building.
Okay, that was my only question.
Anyone else? No, we're good. I don't have any.
Thank you, everyone.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? We're letting you off easy. Okay. At this time, we want to open it up for public comment. Am I really loud, right? Open it up for public comment. And again, we go through the fact that we have Zoom. The individuals, if I see the names, and I don't know how I would do that, but if I see the names from IT, then please let me know. Obviously, I can't see who's on there. But anyway, we open it for public comment for those that are here. We do have one person to address the commission. I believe, and if I don't pronounce it right, Pastor Zach. Okay, of Care, California. And I'm assuming I said it right. It's the Z-A-C-H.
You knocked it out of the park.
Okay, thank you very much. My eyesight isn't that bad yet, so that's good.
Well, you make up for it with your bedside manners, so don't even worry about it a little bit. So good evening. On behalf of Californians Allied for Responsible Economy, or CARE California, this evening, CARE California's mission is the same as always, to ensure that development projects across California minimize environmental and public health impacts and ensure community benefits, including the advancement of the cause of the skilled construction workforce, a unique and invaluable field which provides the engine for so much of this state's robust economic strength. As a community coalition group, we are interested in the public's health and safety as well, especially that of construction workers. We therefore have a particular interest in construction-related environmental issues, including air pollution, noise, greenhouse gas emissions, and on-site soil contamination and hazardous materials. We hope that the EIR will comprehensively address these issues. We firmly believe that the decisions made by the developers, in this case Duke Realty, have an enormous impact on our environment and community. And we are enheartened by the applicant's commitment heretofore. And we hope that the applicant will be willing to work with the community groups, and there are several, and be responsive to the calls of the residents of the region, which, as you pointed out, there are residents involved in this project, to ensure a successful project. You know, one of the things that we really value when we see projects like this, especially in a community where Duke has a very noticeable footprint. As you pointed out, you are paying attention, so you're aware of these things. We want to see projects that are genuinely concerned with the health and the well-being of the community. This is our absolute utmost concern. So we will also be diligent to monitor and track the project as it continues to move forward in all of its reviews and all of its steps in the process. And we're so grateful that you guys took the time to hear us out tonight. Thanks, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I'll leave that with Madam Record. Thank you. And is there anyone else on Zoom or in the
Chairman
audience?
Hammond, we have quite a few. I'm just going to say this. To any folks on Zoom, if you have any translation questions or translation services, we have a translator on Zoom. Before you start, just let the translator know that she needs to perk her ears up. We're going to start it off with Janet. You have 3 minutes and your mic is unmuted.
Janet?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. I was looking for the mute button.
Okay.
So good evening, Paris City Planning Commission and community members. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak today. As I mentioned, my name is Janet Bernabe. I'm the organizing director for the Center for Community Action Environmental Justice, and I'm also a 25-year resident for the city of Paris. I'm actually really glad these scoping meetings are taking place. To give the input of the community. I think one of my biggest concerns right now is the traffic, knowing that we still don't know who the tenant's going to be taking up this space is one of my concerns. And of course, the pollution and the noise and cumulative impacts after this project is completed. But I know some of the commissioners had addressed the concerns of the traffic. I've been on that street, and actually it's a coincidence. I ended up driving off of Hardy Knox today, trying to beat some traffic on Paris Boulevard, but I ended up just getting back into traffic. But one of my, biggest concerns in traffic, I do commute on the 215 to the 60 or, towards Riverside or towards Beaumont. And that has been a great factor, not knowing that, there is other warehouse developments in development in also in Moreno Valley. So we have to take that also in account. All the additional traffic that's going to be created between this 215 and the 60. I mean, sometimes it takes me about an hour to get to work, and I work in Moreno Valley. So that is extremely heavy traffic, and adding more traffic on top of traffic, that's just really going to congest our community time and time again. So that's just one factor, of course, that I'm concerned of. And of course, the tenant, who's going to be the tenant, knowing if it's going to be a 25 operational facility, that's going to be additional things that can be added to an overburden overall to our communities as it is. But yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I hope everybody else is going to be making a comment as well. And just for clarification, for those that want to make a public comment on here, raise your hand. I think that wasn't really instructed. A lot of community members don't know that there is an option that you have to raise your hand when you have to make a comment. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And who can give us the next
Thank you,
speaker?
Janet. We have a Marvin Norman.
Marvin Norman.
You're unmuted. You have the floor, Mr. Norman.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Planning Commission and members of the public. My name is Marvin Norman. I'm the Policy Specialist at the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, also known as CCAJ. Just to make comments on the scoping plan meeting for this project. First is we went ahead and looked through the Calaveras screen as looking forward to this project. And the area where the project would be located is one of the highest tracts in the state for ozone and similar pollutants. So we hope that the project, as part of the EIR process, is able to identify how they will, keep from adding to that burden. And I have also seen several of these projects in recent times where they come out and it turns out that the air quality impacts are going to be way above the limit set by the South Coast AQMD Air Quality Management Plan. And everyone just kind of hand waves that away as being no big deal. So it would be good to see that addressed in this project and it made clear how that will not happen. but how the project will mitigate its impacts to be within the acceptable limits of the AQMP. I know I've heard a lot about traffic. I would remind everyone that the more space we provide for cars, the more cars we get. So it would be great to see that this project that make actual steps to keep VMT low by actually getting people the ability to get to the project site without using a car. I know pedestrians was mentioned, but I know also city has a growing trail network. It would be good to see how that could be connected up, and so that people can have other options, as well as RCTC and is studying their Metrolink, and they have Metrolink station planned at some point that would be closer to the site as well. All these should be on the table to be looked at. We also just want to ensure that none of these I'm hearing something. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so we want to make sure that the air quality impacts are addressed. The community has been heavily impacted by air quality in recent years, and to make sure that the traffic impacts are also addressed and that they do so in a manner that improves the traffic experience and mobility. It would be good to look at mobility, not just traffic. And so how is mobility improved for all? And by this project and all projects that the city undertakes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And
we have I'm sorry if I butcher this, Natalie Ortiz. You are unmuted and you have the floor.
Hi, my name is Natalie Ortiz. A concern that I have is that the warehouse will be constructed as a speculative building with no specific tenant identified at this time. And my concern with this speculative development is that it's undertaking a construction project without any strict pledges regarding what the developer will end up doing with it. And the developer does not know in advance exactly how the venture will unfold. And the project is anticipated that the building could operate 24 hours a day. And being that it's a speculative building, the hours of operation aren't definitive. Another concern is that the population and housing will not be included in the draft EIR. To include a section on population and housing in the draft EIR would reveal the potential effects of the project's contribution to population and housing growth within the geographical boundaries of the city, accounting for population and housing policies that have been established. Project effects on these demographic characteristics are compared to adopted and growth forecasts and relevant policies and programs regarding planning for future development to determine whether the project would be inconsistent with adopted growth forecasts in a way that could result in negative environmental effects associated with unplanned growth. A section on population and housing should be included in this draft EIR. Thank you.
okay, thank you very much. And whoever's next.
We have a Joaquin Castillos. You are unmuted and you have the floor.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that for the developer to make sure that we have the necessary mitigation for this project. For example, if it's possible, solar panels, electric car charging stations or electric truck charging stations, and buffer zones for the warehouse with like native plants, to take that space, green zones, and to make sure also the idling for trucks that are parked there or trucks that are at the center, at the warehouse, to make sure to keep the idling at the necessary levels that are recommended by the SEQMD to mitigate any type of pollution while they're there. And I know we mentioned some truck routes, just to make sure those truck routes are enforced for these warehouses. Like as mentioned earlier, we don't know who these tenants are gonna be, but either way, the regulations for truck routes has to be enforced. But in all the mitigation for this warehouse should focus on the mitigation against pollution and contamination, adding buffer zones, minimizing idling times, and adding electric fueling stations and solar panels. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And who's ever next?
We have an Elizabeth. Your mic is unmuted and you have the floor.
Elizabeth, okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. My concern is this project wouldn't seem to benefit the community at all, considering how it's been talked about, the air pollution, traffic, pedestrians. Like, I don't know of anyone that thinks like, oh, I'm gonna go walk down Harley Knox. The area is not walkable. Most of Paris is not walkable. As residents, we would like to see more stuff that actually benefits our community, and even just adding a couple trees to this 700,000 square foot project seems like just putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. This project should not move forward. There's a lot of issues that our residents are facing, and this doesn't seem to benefit the community in any way. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And it looks like we have one more, Mr. Alex Marin.
Marin.
Your mic is unmuted and you have the floor.
Good evening. So I just have one little thing to say. I know there's not like a definitive landscape plan, but I did hear the developers speak on some plants and trees. I think someone already brought this up, just look into more native California species of plants and trees. I think he said one tree name, which is an invasive species, and I wouldn't want to see that here in Paris. They spread like wildfire. I wouldn't want that in my backyard. I wouldn't want a lot of things in my backyard, but specifically this tree. If you want to look at more native landscape, I think some warehouses already have some, like the Wayfair one. There's some off Ryder. That one's a really nice one. But other than that, I think just look into California native landscaping. A lot of warehouses are already trying to implement that. I think we should too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And
it looks like that might be it on the Zoom portion of public comment.
Okay. Was there anyone out in the audience here that had any public comment? Okay. Seeing none, we close the public hearing and we go to the Planning Commissioner discussion. Did I say something wrong?
Given that this is just a scoping meeting, I think
you don't want to.
Well, I think if you have any other additional comments, and then that would close the scoping meeting or scoping hearing at that time.
Okay. I don't have any. Okay. And closes the scoping meeting. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I see the time thing there. I don't have to use my phone and try to guess. I have no idea. Anyone want to take a break? Somebody go next. Okay. We move on to item 7B, Developmental Plan Review, 21-00001. A proposal to construct a 154,558 square foot industrial building located at the eastern side of Wilson Avenue and approximately 500 feet south of Ryder Street within the light industrial zone of the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan. The assessor parcel number 300-170-008. The applicant Michael Goodwin, First Industrial, and at this time, is there any ex parte communication or site visits that anyone would like to mention?
I drive by there all the time.
It's Commissioner
Jimenez.
Jimenez?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Lopez, I do run in that area.
On the bike trail, right? Okay. And I drove over to the site, I sat there and I sat at the site, so I'm really detailed. Okay. So just let us Commissioner Hammond. Okay. I almost don't want to use the word drive-by because I come from LA. Okay, so a little scared to use the drive-by word, if you know what I mean. Okay. That part of town, you don't want to say drive-by. Okay. Yeah. The requested action before you start is that adopt resolution number 22-03, adopting mitigated negative declaration 2635, and approving departmental plan review 21-00001 to allow construction of a 154,558 square foot industrial warehouse building on approximately 9.7 acres of land. Located at the eastern side of Wilson Avenue, south of Ryder Street, based on the findings and the conditions of approval. And I don't think Mr. Chung is going to, I don't think Mr. Fung is going to be doing this. This is Alfredo. Unless you want to do it. No, I didn't think so. Okay. And your presentations.
Thank you, Chair, for that presentation and that introduction, and good evening, members of the Planning Commission. As mentioned this evening, we have before you the First Wilson Industrial 2 project.
You can ask questions on this one.
The project site is located in the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan with a light industrial land use designation and also surrounded by other light industrial land use designation zones. The site is situated east along Wilson Avenue, just south of East Ryder Street and north of Placencia Avenue, and just north of the Wilson 1 project. If you recall, about 2 years ago, last December, there was a project that was approved there, just a little over 300,000 square foot industrial project, and this one will mimic that project in similarity, but at a much smaller scale. This is a panoramic street view along Wilson Avenue looking east towards the project site. As you can see within this image is the erosion warehouse and fabrication distribution center that will be demolished to build the proposed industrial project. Here is a street view looking south along Wilson Avenue. And this is a street view looking north along Wilson Avenue. And this is an interior view looking west at Wilson Avenue. Before you is the site plan that's being proposed for this evening. As mentioned, it is a 154,000 square foot industrial building situated on 9.7 acres. Staff took into consideration the concerns and comments that the Planning Commission had 2 years ago and implemented it onto this project. As mentioned, the site will have 2 points of access. The northern site will be designated for only employee vehicles. Those employee vehicles are only to park along Wilson Avenue and to take access along the northern portion of the site and to park towards the rear only. And also for emergency vehicles. The southern portion is only access for semi-trucks. The semi-trucks are to enter on a left-in, right-out access, just like the employee vehicles. The semi-trucks do not have any employee vehicles on the sides of the throat of the entryway to not cause any accidents. They are to go into the truck yard, hammerhead, or circle around and exit onto Wilson Avenue. The project also proposes an outdoor employee rest area that is adjacent to the building, so there will be no crossing of any driveways to minimize any potential accidents. And as well, we'll be proposing a bocce ball court, which is different than the conventional basketball court that we've all seen, right? The project site will also be proposing 90 standard parking stalls. Within those parking stalls, we will have handicap and electrical vehicles charging stations and bicycle parking too for employees that don't want to create a carbon footprint, right? We'll also have 15.8% landscaping, which far exceeds the 12% that's usually required within the PVCC zone. So we were sensitive to that and We worked with the applicant, and they were gracious enough to provide that for us. Again, with the industrial development standards, it meets and exceeds the development standards specified in the SP zone, the specific plan, my apologies, with respect to lot coverage, floor area ratio, height, etc. And with respect to the parking standards, we meet the parking and exceeded by 6 spaces as well. With respect to the architecture, it is a modern architect taste on the project. It uses a combination of roof lines, vertical columns, recessed panels, and windows. It provides a brick use along all the office entrances to create symmetry. The color palette ranges in different tones of shades of gray. And this is all to complement the brick and to overall provide visual interest for the building. These are 2D elevations of the proposed building, the upper one being the north elevation, and the image at the bottom being the east interior elevation. This 2D elevation, the northern one is the south interior elevation, and the bottom is the west elevation, which will be the elevation seen along Wilson Avenue. With respect to the CEQA mitigated neck deck was prepared for this project. It was circulated for 30 days for public review. During that 30-day public review period, staff received 3 comments. One was from the Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance. The other was the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters, and the third was from a gentleman named Adam Salcido. During that time frame, the comments were analyzed and they were embedded into the final MND, which was put out for public review again, and the responses were provided to the 3 agencies and individuals that provided comments. After that MND review period, staff received an additional comments, again from the Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance and the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. Staff reviewed it, applicant, CEQA consultants reviewed it as well, and provided responses. Those responses and that packet has been placed at the dais for your review. Copies have also been provided for public review, and which are outside as well. Just as a quick overview, as far as the environmental consultants are, in their humble opinion, the comments raised by the 2 agencies did not raise anything new that was already analyzed and provided comments on. With that said, this evening, staff's recommendation is for the Planning Commission to adopt resolution number 2203, to adopt mitigated neg deck 2635, and the development plan review 21-0001, subject to its conditions of approval. And that concludes my presentation. This evening, we also have Mr. Richard Belmudez, who is the applicant representative. You may have heard of him before.
Slightly.
We also have our city CEQA consultant, Mr. Michael Brown, on Zoom, and as well as other members of Webb and Associates on Zoom via standby to provide any clarification that the commission may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, points of clarification. We have been handed a document, several pages, and just want to put it as a formal matter. Item 7B, so it was received 2 letters for the commission tonight from Golden State Environmental Justice Alliance, and then also the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters letter received today. So we just make that a formal thing. I don't think I'll be able to get through it all tonight, but also a point of note, just as I mentioned earlier, and the city should probably say this more than me. On the city's website, you go to the Department of Developmental Services, then you go to the Planning Department, and on the right side is Environmental Resources, and all these documents that are done there are there, and including responses to these whatever entities that are there. So it's 300 pages, I know, but I've read through most of them, and so it is there. It is for public wearing this, so it's not, we're hiding anything. It's very transparent. It's there on the website. We should say that all the time, guys, that they can go to that site because not everyone knows to go to that site, the city website. I just happen to know because I've been doing 20 years. But it's there. And if you scroll to the bottom, there are responses there and then all the different appendices, 1M, all the other things there. So it is available to review. Okay. With that, are there any questions for discussion for the staff at
Real
this time?
quickly, can I just elaborate really one additional note? That letter by the Southwest Regional Carpenters letter that we received today, it is the same letter that we received during the 30-day review period. It's just a different date.
Oh, okay.
So that was already addressed in the M&D.
Okay.
And then the Golden State letter, in our review of it, it didn't raise any new environmental issues.
Okay.
They were just trying to identify that we are the location is in a high air quality pollution area, which we acknowledge and already do know. And that analysis was already conducted, and that is summarized in the letter, which has a itemized response to each of those items. So with that said, I just want to elaborate on those two items.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just another point of clarification. With respect to the packet that the commission received tonight with those two letters, I believe the bulk of that packet is the attachment for the carpenters.
Right.
And the bulk of that, those attachments have already been received by the city as well and assessed as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Sorry, back to any questions for staff?
This is Commissioner Gomez. I just wanted to, I know we're on the topic of the letter that we received, and just to confirm with the city staff has said and Commissioner Hammond has already explained, I have two different copies, two different letters from the Carpenters Union, and I believe that it has the other attachments on here as well from previous meetings, and it's pretty much the exact same thing. The information, the data provided to us on here is over a year old as well. And so I would love to take the time and go over these comments and concerns that these organizations are bringing forward to us. However, I would request that these come in at an earlier date so that I can fully evaluate them. And as Chair Hammond mentioned, we just received it a few hours ago before the meeting. Also, the dated information in here does not allow me to understand the point of any changes that have made for better or for worse. And so I just want to make it clear that yes, we are paying attention, we are going through these documents, and yes, they are just a resubmission of the same document that has been resubmitted to the city for a year now. So just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Okay. Whoever wants to jump in.
Commissioner Shively, question is, the new street lighting, streetlights that would be occurring along the streets, will they be SCE or will they be City of Paris owned and operated?
Commissioner Shively, yes, there'd be actually city-owned streetlights. So there'd be the LED LS3 system.
Was any materials board submitted?
Yes, there was. Mr. Griffiths will.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, go right ahead. Christine.
Can we go back to the site plan? I don't see it. The previous development on that property that's going to be demolished, I noticed had no sidewalk. So is this going to have a sidewalk? Because this is close to residential area.
Yes.
Yes? Is it on the plan? Is it the gray outline?
It has a gray hatch pattern. It's probably blown up just a little bit more in the full-scale development plans that were provided.
Okay, Yeah, I got that very late too. I'm not sure if the mail is behind. I got it really late, or maybe it's just our area. So it's the hashtag underneath the trees that I see here. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, along that, so is this, is there any potential for a bike path or a activity path? Yes? And what street is it going to be on?
Commissioner
Thank you.
Gomez, yeah, there's going to be the project is conditioned to construct a sidewalk, and there's a type 2 bicycle path on Wilson Avenue.
On Wilson Avenue?
Correct. If you refer to engineering condition number 14,
Okay,
we specified
Yeah.
the extent of the improvements
okay.
on Wilson.
Thank you. Okay, and just really quick, I did notice that on the landscape, there's a lot of white. You can see a lot of the building, and on the elevation that was shown to us. Is there a way to work with the applicant to make sure that we, make it as green as possible? I know that there was a comment earlier that said it's like putting a Band-Aid. The reality is that we want to be able to make it look aesthetically pleasing, and I think this building, from what was there to what it's going to be, is going to bring improvements to that city, to that street as well.
Correct.
And so as with those improvements, we wanted to also look beautiful because we wanted to attract our residents to walk, especially the ones that live close to that area. So if we can work with the applicant on that, please. Thank you.
Okay, I can't, anyone, go for it. Commissioner Lopez.
Commissioner Lopez, well, I just wanted to,
I kind of wrote on.
so just thank you for adding the EV charging stations. Just for the record, just wanted to ask, how many will you guys be including on this site?
I have to look at the parking analysis real quick.
Okay.
Three.
Okay, another question. I just want to ask the same question about the solar panels. I don't know if a project like this, will it be feasible to use solar panels, and is the applicant open to including them to the project?
Yeah, I'll divert that question to Mr. Belmudez.
Okay.
So you can.
Okay. Another issue that I have was with Warehouse 1. One of the issues that I noticed was light pollution going into the residence on the east side of the building. Because I do run through the Paris Valley Trail, and I noticed that the lights shine strong into the backyards of the houses. I don't know if that's something you guys could look into to prevent for this new upcoming project.
Yeah, I apologize for that. It is conditioned to have all light to be hooded, to shine down directly and not spill outside of the boundaries of the project site. So before we do C of O on that building, we'll make sure that that's addressed. And
Okay.
we'll make sure that will be in the conditions for this project too. So,
All right, perfect. Thank you.
yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, sorry, I was writing something. Yeah, Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez?
Yes.
Okay, so, I'm loving the landscape. I'm not going to complain about that.
All right.
No kidding.
My question is, on the site plan,
Yes.
I see that there's like a gate on the, what is that? Southwest side?
Southwest side.
Between the trailer parking and the passenger vehicle. There seems to be like a rolling gate to prevent the crossing of traffic, right?
Within the opposite sides of the truck yard? Are those the
Yes.
gates you're referring to? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's part of our development standards in the PVCC zone to screen the semi-trucks.
Perfect. Is there a way to have another screen at right above the, what is it, southeast entry where it's just big rigs?
Southeast,
Southwest.
southwest.
Because those passenger vehicles can just, try to exit using the south.
Are you referring to the where the employee vehicles may have access to the southern driveway approach? Okay. We can condition it to have some sort of control measure there.
Yeah, because those people can be able to,
Okay,
just
very similar to
commingle.
the Core 5 project then.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
And also, it's right out only, right?
Left in, right
Right out.
out.
Can we, I forgot, kidneys, I forget what those little bumpers are so that you can't turn pork chops, kidneys, pork chops,
Yeah, now I'm hungry. Okay.
ribeye. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Commissioner Jimenez, actually, the Saturday driveway would be for trucks only. And then through design, we modify the driveway so that it be directional. So there won't be, the curb return would be like a reverse return. So it would only allow trucks entering, left in, and exiting as a right out. So the driveway will be modified to accommodate that turning movement.
And how about for the passengers, or could the passenger vehicles exit left?
Passenger vehicles will have full turn movements, correct. And just to clarify, the rolling gates between the truck parking areas, that would be used for emergency access.
Yes.
So for fire trucks to be able to go around the building. So
Yes.
those basically the easterly gate will be closed. It will only open when there is emergency access required.
Good. But the passenger vehicles still have access to the southerly. Entrance.
The driveway for the autos is only from the northerly
Yes.
entry, yeah,
I just want to make sure it's like blocked off,
correct.
because I know, some of us are in a hurry and there's 10 cars up here and none down here. And when you did the traffic study, did you notice it might be an issue? Because I can imagine trucks are going to be backed up since it's a left only. For vehicles making a left turn, what was the analysis of that?
So there'd be specific striping, so that at that time we'll determine the length of the turn lane. So it'd be striped so that there'd be adequate spacing for the trucks to line up before entering the site.
Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be based on a study.
It was based on the study and you
Correct.
reviewed the length then?
Correct.
Okay. And how many lanes are on?
There'd be 2 lanes with a center turn lane.
Okay.
Correct.
And is there anything preventing trucks from turning right at Ryder?
Correct. There's a specific condition to that effect, is engineering condition number 17. So at the intersection, the northbound lane will be channelized. So they'll be restricted, so trucks won't be able to make a right from Wilson onto Ryder.
It was
There'd be
17?
enough space just for the autos to get into that channelized lane to make a right turn movement.
It was 17? I can't believe I missed that one.
Condition
Okay.
number 17,
17?
engineering condition number 17. And we're currently working with the engineers to come up with that design, because that intersection is going to be signalized.
Okay. You guys took care of everything. Oh my God. One last one. I think this is my last one. So there's going to be 14-foot walls, correct?
Yes.
Now, the walls are pretty, don't get me wrong, but walls also lend themselves for creative artists. So, and I'm just saying it because I noticed, because I drive up Evans to take my daughter to school, and on the right-hand side, it's brick walls in the older development, but they have like a little space, and there's plants growing there, so there's not as much wall space. The one that we approved totally skipped my mind, but it's just wall and then sidewalk. So, I mean, it's just wall, sidewalk. So, artists might find it appealing.
Canvas.
Yeah, it's a beautiful canvas. So, I don't know if this was discussed, but maybe moving the wall in 1 foot, half a foot, or maybe having some kind of, vines or something growing. Not all of it, but maybe in some parts, just to kind of make sure.
Commissioner Jimenez, are you referring, because the wall for this site should be a couple of hundred feet back from the Wilson Avenue, just to block the,
It's a few hundred feet back.
yeah, so the wall in this location, if you look at where the 14-foot high concrete screen wall starts, it's further back, it's a couple hundred feet back.
Okay.
In this situation, and there is landscaping in front of it.
There is landscaping in front of it?
Yes.
Let me look at the map. Just want to make sure we don't have beautiful canvases. So it's back here. Okay.
There's one in front of it.
There is one in front of it? Let me see. Oh, okay, there is. Well, that took care of that problem. Thank you. So that's it for me.
Commissioner Shively again. Since the preparation of these, this document, has Dennis Grubb's office provided conditions of approval for fire?
Yes, sir.
Are they included in here?
Yes, they're embedded in the planning conditions.
For features, they be situated out to the fire section instead of in the planning section for easier access?
You would like to see fire conditions segregated in the future?
According to this, that it says that the conditions of approval will be provided by Dennis Grubb. I expect to see conditions of approval behind it, not in a different area.
Commissioner Shively, we can do both. I know that our fire marshal wanted specific to ask us to include it in the planning condition. And so we can embed it and provide the attachments so that you can clearly see that they are duplicates and it will satisfy the needs of our fire marshal and for your need in terms of seeing.
He puts his conditions on his own letterhead?
He does.
So perhaps in the future that can be done. Appreciate that.
Noted.
The spike board?
Oh.
Commissioner Lopez has it.
Oh. Yeah. Mr. Shively. Sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. You know I'm gonna have something for staff, right? You're not getting off that easy, right? Okay, some clarification. We talk about this Chairman Hammond, in case you couldn't figure it out, I'm talking most here. We talk about fencing, and there's some discrepancies, and I'm gonna find them. One, the plans say 10-foot, I hate the term steel, iron, but steel, 2-meter fencing, so you know what happens to steel after a while. Steel on the east side, obviously the MSHP, wherever HC is on that side, so you don't really have residential joints. To the south, there's industrial building. To the north, you got this 2-meter steel, but then you have electrics, SCE electric thing. But you state that on the southerly side, I think on the east side and on the west side, it would be 14 foot. Now, we're talking 14-foot fence only on the west side, right? We're not talking the south, even though it mentions the south, even though it mentions the east, on the plans it says 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet, and 14 on the west. We want to make sure they're consistent. So if we're going to stay in the plans and in the condition of approval, it has to be 14-foot west side only, right? 10-foot steel tubular on the east side, 10-foot steel tubular on the north and on the south. So just to make sure we clarify that not only just in ours, engineering should say 14-foot west side only. I like very specific. West side is the only 14-foot wall. The north is not going to be. It would be nice. But that's not what's proposed. We're proposing a 10-foot steel along the north side. And on the east side, I understand, because you got that 500-foot barrier, and then it comes down to my bike path too, on the east side, but there's nothing there. Then the south side is an industrial building.
Yes.
But I'm just not criticizing, I'm saying I want to clarify that we're going to have the plan is 14 feet on the west side only.
So let me, if I can clarify, everything that's secures the truck loading area is 14 feet in height,
Mhm.
and the remaining area outside of the truck area is 10-foot high wrought iron, or tubeless steel, however you want to call it, but it's wrought iron in the
Right.
day in practice.
Yeah, I think the clarification was it was only on the west side. So we're not talking about residential on the east side. He was talking about glare and the other things, but it's tubular steel on the west side, 10 feet, with 100 feet spacing for pilasters and things like that. Just clarifying, that's all. Okay. I like what what the graffiti statement that she had made before. And I kind of like that, and even my wife likes it too, but the idea of if you're going to paint over graffiti, it should be the same color. There was wording to the effect in the other ones that was there, and just like I had the thing that you guys have put in there all the time to keep me quiet, it might be a good idea, because that is an important issue, because graffiti is an issue, and you come back and paint over it, and it's like, who the, the original palette. So whatever wording to the effect that, to the greatest extent possible, to the original color palette should be used. And I'm saying extent possible, because 10 years from now it might be. But if you don't, you've got some issues in Paris where they just paint over it.
And it was something to the effect of large paneling areas,
Yes,
correct? Not
yeah.
just a little
Exactly,
square.
Right.
exactly.
So if it's like
I remember.
the pilaster, the whole
Yeah.
section is
Yeah.
not just like the square around
When we
it
did the
or in the
daycare.
shape of it.
Yes.
Yeah, not just where they did that and then the rest of it.
Right,
It,
yeah.
it should all look one, and it's,
Okay.
we wouldn't normally say that if there wasn't a lot of graffiti. So you have, people just tend to want to do that, and if you just spray paint that area, that makes it look worse. You're better off just leaving the graffiti.
Agreed.
It's her fault. She made me think like that now. Yeah.
It makes the cover up more tasteful.
Yes,
I-
yeah.
Yeah, it does. I agree. We'll add
Um,
that, yeah.
And I think that was it. I think it's a lot of things were incorporated in here, and I think what we're looking at, I think you mentioned it, the trucks would only be driving on the southern end, is the proposal.
That is correct.
They would be blocked from going north. But you did mention that the vehicles, auto vehicles at the northwestern portion can turn out left,
Yes.
and there's no center median. So that's closer to Ryder, so I'm a little concerned about a safety issue there. We're not required, it may not be a problem, but it depends on the traffic study and other things that signalize it, but it's still, if you're coming out and turning left at auto, and you also have right, you're gonna be turning left nearer to Ryder Street and blocked by the Edison plant and all the other things there, hopefully not the cannabis across the street. But you're turning left onto Wilson. So I just hope that's not an issue. And like you were saying at the driveway, is there gonna be like some
reverse
barrier?
curve, yeah.
Oh, okay, okay.
So what would happen? I'm sorry?
What was it called?
Like a reverse curve at the driveway.
Oh, okay.
Instead of the standard, you have
Mhm.
like a opening,
Mhm.
so you restrict it.
Mhm.
So once we analyze the volume of traffic
Mhm.
and then determine the length of the turn lane,
Mhm.
you're right, the left turn auto movement may be restricted. Then we have to put signage at the driveway restricting
Okay.
left turn movements.
Okay. Just not sure, so.
Like, because that was my concern, because
Yeah.
I've been in that area, and,
Yeah.
you know, you do get a lot of traffic at that corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that was it for me, unless someone else has some. Okay, go for it, Commissioner Gomez.
I was looking over the plant legend, and there was a comment made earlier also, we need more California native plants, but I'm gonna make it very clear that I've done my research, and if you bring a coastal California native plant to the inland, guess what's gonna happen? It doesn't survive. Even if it's a California native plant, especially, for example, the California, we have here the coast live oak. Case in point, the word coast, it's not meant for the desert. That tree is going to dry up. We're going to see those beautiful maple-like leaves. They're going to dry up, and the tree is going to, it's not going to thrive. It's going to suffer. It's going to be a little green, but then yellow, but then we don't know if it's drying up or what's going on, and that happens a lot here in our city. And so if you can please work with the applicant to make sure that a majority of these trees are the trees that do survive, that we are prone to getting in this area, that we would like to get because they thrive, because they grow, because they provide the shade that these trees are meant to provide. And if we can also work with the applicant on making sure that the side that the residents need to look at when they look outside of their houses across the valley storm drain, it's big and it's wide, but they can still see from it. They don't want to see warehouses. I don't want to see warehouses, but it's zoned that way. So let's try to see if the applicant would be motivated to put more greenery, make it a nice scene for those residents, because guess what? We don't keep our residents happy. They're going to come here and they're going to protest. They're going to express their feelings in regards to what is coming up in their city. So I know blah, 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 I can go on and on, but you get it, right?
Yes.
We've been through this before. And of course, it's so that everyone can also listen to what we're asking for. Another question, how popular is bocce ball?
Well, it's up and coming. I mean.
Is it a trend? Is it on TikTok? Are you serious? Yes. Okay, because I'm thinking, do these employees prefer to play basketball, or do they want to play bocce ball? So, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we would like the applicant to put something that's going to be used right there for the employees, because you hate seeing a ping pong table at the edge of, of the multi-purpose room, and it's not being used. Yeah, and so, similar to that, if we're going to have this really nice building coming in, we would like it to have something that's going to be useful. So, I mean, I'm not going to say yes or go which way or the other. I mean, if you put like a half soccer field on there, they'd be happy. I know that. But especially in this area. But for sure, I think that I would just go over that, and I would leave it up to staff
We can think of different,
for
on the
recommendation.
Core 5 project, we had an outdoor gym that was enclosed.
Ooh.
Perhaps we can do something like that with this project and see if the applicant would want to go that avenue or that route.
Yes, especially since they're expanding this way, and just for the record, I'd like to see that if the sidewalk would be pedestrian friendly, and that there be enough shade for when our Commissioner Lopez wants to run through there, and he doesn't have to run in the sun. Yes, and Chair Hammond ride his bike through there as well. So, and potentially us in the future, right? We'll get out there as well. So those are a few things, and the palette, I'm looking at it, and it's shades of gray. I like the dark gray as an accent color. It goes with the P5, the stone here.
We could probably wait for the applicant, and probably those questions would be for the applicant.
Do you know
They'll
where,
determine that one.
that's
so.
true. Do you know where the M1 is going to go, this metal part here? I don't see it on the map.
That will be for shaded awning parts and around the trim of the window, I believe.
Ooh, okay. Will that
Yeah,
attract
it's a
heat?
little difficult
To see it.
to see it, but
windows.
Okay.
we're trying to deal with trying to get away from the tan colors, which was a
Yeah,
direction
no,
that
I
we-
agree. This is nice with the blue. It's going to look really nice. Less white, more color, I would suggest as well.
Okay.
There's a
And
lot of white.
The color scheme matches Wilson 1, right? I'm trying to remember back to
yes,
Wilson
we
1, and I think.
modified Wilson 1.
Yes.
I don't know if
We're getting
for those of
the
everyone that was out
discussion,
there,
so we
you know.
we better stop there.
Yeah. No, I'm done.
Okay. Any more questions for staff? Go for it.
I have another question. This is Commissioner Lopez.
What is that like?
I just want to make sure about the truck route. So all the trucks going into the location will be coming from Ryder and going out into Ryder? Because I know it could be super easy for them to go down Placentia, especially now that the on-ramp is going to be opening there, and then going south into Orange Avenue as well. So just want to make sure, are they going to be coming from Ryder, or are they allowed to go down south as well?
The truck route would be from Ryder. There'll be signage put up soon restricting truck traffic on certain routes.
So will they be able to go south on Wilson?
Well, the driveway will be such that they won't be able to make a left turn.
Oh, okay.
That's
Perfect.
where the reverse curve comes on
All
the
right,
driveway.
beautiful. Okay, yeah, just want to
Otherwise,
make
they
sure.
have to go over the
Yeah.
over the driveway to make a left.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions for staff? Okay. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And at this time, if there's any presentation from the applicant, it looks familiar. You state your name and the last name.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner, members of the commission. My name is Richard Belmudas, and this place feels rather familiar.
Yeah.
Feels like I've spent a few hours here over my life. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. I'm representing Albert A. Webb now, and on behalf of our client, Michael Goodwin, we're happy to present this project. As you all know, and I know, First Industrial has been a long-term stakeholder in the community for the last decade and a half. They've built several projects in the city. The one before you tonight, they have been listening, probably a lot better than I have lately. They've included the separation between vehicular and truck traffic. They did enhance the landscaping on the sidewalk. So Commissioner Lopez, we did want to make it a little bit more comfortable for you. The other question I heard was regarding the solar panels, and as it stands now, the roof could be usable for future solar panel use. Aside from that, staff did a great job, Mr. Fung and Mr. Garcia, in doing the presentation. Our team members, as well as members from First Industrial, are on the Zoom call. But otherwise, I'm here to try to answer as much as I can.
Thank you very much, sir. Good to see you again, too. More relaxed atmosphere, right? Yeah. I'll leave that alone. Are there any questions for the applicant, left to right, right to left? Wow. No questions for the applicant? Oh, Commissioner, Vice Chairman
Commissioner
Simon?
Shively, do you know what the scale of the finish number 5, which is the brick facade, or what size is that?
So the brick facade is similar to the one, or not similar, I think it's exactly to the one used for Wilson 1.
Like an 8x16?
I'm going to have to defer to the architect.
2 by 6?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the architect, Mr. Gill, should be on the Zoom call. Mike, help.
Is he there?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Hi, this is Mike Gill, RGA Architects, and answer to your question, yes, it is similar in design to Wilson 1. It is a thin brick that's inlaid into the concrete panel, and I believe it was 2.5 by 6. And then on this one here, I believe we went with a soldier course over the tops of the openings. A little bit different design. But it's not a full brick. We get a little bit nervous about applying a full brick to a building, but this is an inlaid and it's embedded into the concrete panel.
The visual effect with such a small brick, can you actually see the variations in the mortar between the bricks? If it's added, it is a scale appropriately for the size of the building?
Yes. Yeah, we actually have in your city, we have 2 buildings that are up. Very pleasant, works very well. This is actually a system that actually comes out of the East Coast, and they use it for larger scale residential. And we're applying this application on the concrete tilts to meet kind of the alternate material demands in a lot of the different agencies.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicant?
I'm not sorry, but
It's
I got a
okay.
question.
No.
Hello. Good evening. This is Commissioner Gomez. We discussed with the city staff to work with the applicant in regards to adding more greenery to the side that we'll be facing, especially residents that live across from the water, I just named-
Channel.
The channel, I just said it and I forgot it. If that's something that the applicant is willing to do as well.
Yes, I believe it is required, the wrought iron fence, the 10-foot high wrought iron fence, which we complied, and we'll certainly work with staff to try to get what other landscaping meets our current landscape ordinance standards and try
Well,
to
if it were
provide
to
screening.
exceed a bit as well, I know that, I believe it did, from what I was reading, but just that specific area, because we're bringing it in, it looks like a beautiful building, but if it's something that they don't have to see when they first wake up in the morning, we understand there's going to be time for it to grow, but it's something that could potentially, be easy on the eyes, so to speak.
Absolutely. And when I meant meet, I meant regarding whatever species is
Oh,
preferable by staff.
okay. I'm
We are
sorry.
exceeding the landscape requirement as it is, yes.
Yes. Oh, thank you. And I think that was it, because we did mention that some of these plants, some of these trees, well, it's not many of it, are native, but they don't do very well, but as city staff knows what we're looking for, so thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez, hi.
Hi, Commissioner.
Would you please refresh my memory, because I know I saw it somewhere and I can't find it. I noticed that there was those 2 areas outside for employee breaks, the shaded seating structure, like picnic area, the bocce ball.
Correct. If we can get the site plan,
Please,
I
yes.
might even be able to.
And then there was also that I didn't see identified inside, because there was also going to be an indoor.
Ping pong table. Is there a pointer? So the bocce ball and the trellis are on the southwest
Right.
quadrant. You can see the red trellis roof.
Mhm.
And then the bocce courts are right.
To the right of it.
Even with my glasses, I can really see it. But
To the
yes.
right of it, yeah.
Yes, there's 2 bocce courts. And honestly, I didn't know what bocce courts were either, Commissioner, but I found out yesterday that they are very popular.
They
so-
are very popular. Yeah, they're
Yes,
coming,
and
up
then-
and coming.
And then there is a ping pong table.
Not against the wall, so I don't have to play like this.
No, it's.
I
do
need
we
some
have a
elbow room.
Floor plan? Okay, I apologize. We don't have an active floor plan, but it's inside. We're willing to work with staff as far as the placement interior, but we did
Okay.
have an interior ping pong table.
Okay, perfect. Have you worked with staff?
Yeah.
Sufficient, thank you. You know what bocce ball is, they just changed the name, kind of.
Getting used to pickleball there for a minute. Okay, well, any more questions? I'll just say that while he's out. Okay, Mr. Lopez.
So thank you for clarifying the question on the solar panels. Do you know if the applicant is willing to commit to adding solar panels to the project, or possibly adding them on as shade for the parking structure or for the parking lot?
I will we'll look into putting them in the parking lot for shade. I know on the roof as it stands now, until we have a tenant and know what their needs are and whether or not the solar panels would.
So it will be up to the tenant to include
To
them?
a certain degree, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
but they do have the capacity, at least as it stands now, up to 20%. The tenant, that may be sufficient, it may not. They wanted to go beyond that, they would have to provide some additional support. So as it stands now, though, it does have some capacity to provide.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Any more questions as I stall for any more questions for the applicant at this time? Okay. Seeing none, we open it up for public comment. And let's see.
Chairman Hammond, we have a few folks on the Zoom.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to remind everybody that we do have a translator on the Zoom call, and I see a bunch of hands going up now. To let the translator know if you will need translation assistance, go ahead and hail her down, and I will open up the floor to Miss Elizabeth. You are unmuted. and you have the floor.
Hi, this goes back to the same issue that residents do not want more warehouses. No matter what color they are painted, they're not aesthetic at all. Again, even if you make bike paths, no one even wants to drive near the semis. I don't know of anybody who's gonna want to walk or bike a whole bunch of semis. And it goes back to the issue that this project is right by a residential area. Even the pathways that are signed for drivers, for semis, they don't abide by them. There's semis all over. They're not on the right-hand side of the freeways, they're on the left sides. How are they going to be regulated? Because they're going off of the paths that they're supposed to be on. So would that ultimately fall on the city? Who's going to regulate these? And it goes back to the issue of transparency. I know Commissioner Hammond was talking about this, but if you keep getting asked the same question, that means that your website isn't user-friendly. That means that these issues have to be on social media. None of these projects are on social media. There is a lack of transparency. Even if they are on the website, maybe that means it's not user-friendly if you're getting asked the same question all the time. And it goes back to the issue too of the other commissioner talking about protests. Yes, there is going to be an uproar because residents don't want these anymore. Our air quality, everything is going down. Sales tax, like, it's not, these warehouses are not providing anything for residents. So I ask you to please reconsider, because this project does not sound like a project that's going to benefit residents, especially the residents that are going to live right by it at all.
Okay, thank you very much.
Next public comment is a Janet. Your mic is unmuted and you have the floor.
Okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Excuse me. So yes, my name is Janet. I made my comment earlier about your the scoping meeting, but now I'm making a comment on this particular item, which is very, very concerning. And I'm going to applaud the previous speaker, Elizabeth. A commissioner mentioned that angry community members will be attending the meetings. Well, here we are. Community members are upset. I am a community member, been here for 25 years. I use the route on where this particular project is going to be at, Wilson, Ryder. We already have plenty of traffic in the morning when we're trying to make sure we take our children to school. This is enough. We're concerned about what aesthetics or how we're going to make this building look better, not to look like a warehouse. Well, 1 + 1 is 2. A duck is a duck. A warehouse is a warehouse. You cannot cover up a warehouse with just putting more additional plants or greenery on that. We have a walking track path in the back, which I love and I enjoy. One of the things about my city, to be able to enjoy the characteristics, the parks, the walking areas, Lake Paris. This is enough. We have enough warehouses and we're already running out of land. We have 15% of land on the north left over for industrial. We have 35% in the south for industrial. What happens when that land runs out? You're going to end up trying to rezone residential to light industrial and industrial. This is enough. We already have enough warehouses. We already have that. The only thing available that I see that even the mayor posts about jobs that are available for community are warehouse jobs. One day, I would love to see that there's something else available for our youth that is besides warehouse jobs. The angry mob is already here. It's already too late. Community members are upset. I am mad. I'm mad because I've been here for 25 years and all I see is warehouses. They're adding on and they're coming on quick. And this is something you really need to take in consideration for the Planning Commission. We are here. We are mad and we are getting ready and we're getting organized. And just for let you know, other community members, we're going to be having a community meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. via Zoom because this is something that is already in the upward. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Next speaker.
Next public comment is a Joaquin Castillos. Your mic is unmuted and you have the floor, sir.
I'm here to speak against that warehouse. I agree with everyone else who has spoken. We don't need any more warehouses in Paris. This is an area that has already seen a large number of warehouses come in the last 5 to 10 years, and they don't stop. And eventually, all the communities in this area are going to be boxed in by warehouses, and this is just going to bring more damaging effects in the long term than what we see right now. Right now, they might seem like an easy answer to maybe unemployment or to other development goals for the city, but in the long term, there's gonna be automation. There's gonna be changes in the economy, and how viable are these warehouses gonna be in the future? That's something that we can't answer right now. That's something that can only be predicted, and that's something that the city council, the planning commission should take into consideration. This warehouse, it brings a lot of things that they consider benefits, but the community needs more. Needs more in order to feel safe. Needs more in order to feel like these warehouses are actually benefiting the community, and they need to try harder. And Paris is not only for industrialization. Paris is for the residents. Paris is for the people, not for developers. And we should make it shown that that the planning commission supports the people and not only developments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And thank you, IT, for doing a good job, too. Thank you.
No worries. We have a few more. Mr. David Cordero, your mic is unmuted and you have the floor, sir.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Very good. Good evening, Commissioner, staff, and everyone in attendance tonight. My name is David Cordero. I'm a representative for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters and represent many members that live and reside in this beautiful city. I totally agree. A lot of the information in itself is obviously repetitious, but the main point is that I believe the residents will be impacted by the environmental effects of the projects and would encourage the city to require projects to be built utilizing a local, skilled, and trained workforce. Local hire, skilled, and trained workforce requirement reduce construction-related environmental impacts while benefiting the local economy. And obviously, local skilled and trained workforce requirements can boost economic development and mitigate transportation and greenhouse gas impacts by minimizing vehicles miles traveled. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And since I don't have names, help me out. Who's the next person?
Next public comment is from Natalie Ortiz.
Okay.
Your mic is unmuted and you have the floor, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Natalie Ortiz, and I'm opposing this project. As the city of Paris has already designated as a disadvantaged community under SB 535 because of air pollution, and at its highest, it's anywhere between a 90% and 100% percentile burden pollution rate. That's reported by the California Environmental Protection Agency, and this would only increase the burden and contribute to the declining quality of life in the area. And the project's health risk assessment cites a study by McConnell and all others that concluded that there is no association between bronchitis and pollution. The study is from 1999. We're in 2022. This study is outdated, and there are, in fact, up-to-date studies conducted and published in the 21st century that do show associations between bronchitis and pollution. Many of the other sources cited in this project's health risk assessment were published in the early 2000s, which means that these studies were likely conducted in the 90s. The health risk assessment is poorly researched and reveals the lack of interest in the quality of life and how this project would negatively impact the community members' health. And as I mentioned earlier, the city is already designated as a disadvantaged community. This was poorly done. This project should not go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Next public comment is from a Benjamin. Your mic is unmuted, sir, and you have the floor.
Hi, everyone. My name is Benjamin Soto. I'm a Paris resident and also I'm a graduate research assistant at California State University, Fullerton. I just wanted to voice my opposition to this project. The Planning Commission cites an environmental justice element on its website, and it says its duty is to reduce pollution and improve air quality in disadvantaged communities, and this project does not help that mission, and in fact, it exacerbates further problems. I would say that on top of the countless studies that are quick Google scholarship search away, there was a 2020 research study from the UC Institute of Transportation, and they found that warehouse and distribution centers have high correlations of impacts that are negative on the environment, such as air pollution, asthma, and other negative impacts that disproportionately impact the people of this community who are of minority communities. In fact, if you overlay maps with location of minority communities, heavy truck traffic, and the environmental impacts discussed, there's huge correlations between it, indicating that further developments of these types of projects are making these issues worse. In efforts for equity and transparency, I think that the city should be making these projects more well-known. I know they make other projects well-known on social media, such as a new KFC or new Little Caesars, but they're not posting if the new warehouse next door is going to open up in your backyard. And that's just ridiculous from a public administration standpoint, that there's no efforts to put transparency to this, because it is a couple hundred feet from homes in a residential tract, which is against leading experts in environmental planning's guidelines of 1,000 to 3,000 square feet buffers between warehouses and schools and homes. I think that we as a community need to try to strive for better options for our community, ones that improve our way of life, and also, just getting to network with other city managers and other city administration. They talk about how residents will get mad of a gas station and they won't even do a gas station. Over here, we're fighting just to not breathe in air that will cause cancer. And I think it's just ridiculous that we're at this state and things need to be rezoned, things need to be changed from general plan. I know developers want to change general plans to help them and help warehouses. We need to change the general plan to help our community, and that's what I just have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And who's next?
Omar Kobian. Your mic is unmuted, and you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Omar Kobian. I'm also a representative for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. I'm not necessarily for or against the project. What I am for is if you are going to move forward, the developer should be required to like my partner David said as well, should be required to hire local skilled and trained workforce. We should have some sort of community benefit that comes with these warehouses, right? These developers should be hiring local should be using a skilled and trained workforce for these type of developments. That's my comment. Thank you.
Oh, got me off guard there. Thank you. Is there any other speakers?
Just a few more. We have Mr. Alex Marin.
No.
Your mic is unmuted, and you have the floor, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Good evening. It's me again. It's not going to be this negative, my comment, like the other one. Well, they're not negative, it's a brighter tone. I just want to thank you, the commissioner who brought up my point, for touching up on my point to add more California native plants and trees. I know we can't add like coastal oaks, Paris, or even redwood. I would really like redwood, but we just can't. But there are a couple of really nice native trees to this region. My favorite is the Sycamore, the Western Sycamore. My second comment is, I've been here in Paris for 20 years. I've been against these sort of projects for the longest, since high school. I have a minor in urban planning. I know how these things work. If this project was for some reason not passed, we would be left with an empty lot of land. We can't even build a lemonade stand because of the zoning laws. If us, the residents, don't want more warehouses, we need to go shut down March Air Force Base. But that doesn't sound reasonable. It doesn't sound possible, because that's the sole reason for the industrial land and the air pollution in this area. The trucks in the IE barely scratch the surface when it comes to the air pollution that the March Air Force Base is having. But that's when the scary federal government comes in, and you don't want to mess with the federal government. I didn't bring up this last point in the last project because it's a 700,000 square feet warehouse, so I didn't know if it was feasible or not. But this one is only 100,000. There are very few warehouses in the city that actually have air conditioning and heating, and that's not a good thing, especially that many of these workers in the city are purposely taking graveyard shifts because it's unbearable to work in the morning during the summer. We need to see it this way. Our workers are spending 1/3 of their lives in these buildings. The most these developers can do is add air conditioning and heating, not some bocce ball courts. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Another public comment from Marvin Norman. Your mic is unmuted and you have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Marvin Norman here again, Policy Specialist with CCAJ. We, again, are concerned about the development of more warehouses, and unlike the last one that we were commenting on earlier, this one is right across the channel from home, so it's bringing the potential pollution actually that much closer to the community as opposed to the last one, which at least it's right by the airport and there's not much else you could put there. So in this instance, it's certainly kind of concerning to see that, and also like to address the comments that were made about the traffic situation. It was good to see that people were asking the logical questions about, what if people are making lefts out of that north driveway, and they're not supposed to. And it is disappointing though to hear staff say that the only thing you're going to do is put up a sign. We know from decades of research at this point on traffic safety and traffic psychology as well that signs don't work alone. If we don't want people to make left turns out of there, just don't design it to be possible for left turns to be made out of there. And so put up a median in the road that is to that effect. Just like you're going to channelize the intersection at Ryder and Wilson to keep trucks from turning instead of just putting up a sign that says no trucks to go right. And it also would be good. I noticed that someone had mentioned about EV charging spots. It would be good to see also EV charging spots for trucks, for heavy duty EV charging. Just the same as it makes sense to put that in during construction for cars, it makes even more sense to put that in for trucks and to design for that, as their requirements are certainly going to be more intensive. And we have the opportunity. If the opportunity is there to do it now, it really makes sense to do it now instead of waiting and having to try to search for money. Or worse yet, we have a building in 10 years that can't support EV charging. And, that's a liability for the developer, honestly, at that point, or the owner. I noticed that there's talk about, it abuts the drainage channel. I know there's a trail on the other side, but this is a new side of the channel. So the city should be planning to build a trail on this side too, especially given these all this construction. You could lean on that to help bring it along at the same time and just construct the trails. And then you would have a trail on both sides, which is useful for the community in a number of ways. They could go up and down, and it sounds, just recreational, but it also is a way for people to reach their jobs at these warehouses, which, for better or worse, they don't pay that well. And with gas prices these days, it certainly is something that's on people's minds. And
if you could
finally,
kind of
course,
come to a close, we're just about there. A few more minutes. I mean,
okay.
a second.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. We're concerned about the air quality, and so we better not see it go forward if possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
Any,
it looks like we have one last public
Okay.
comment
Mhm.
from Nanette Placentia.
Okay.
Your mic is unmuted, ma'am, and you have the floor.
Oh, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I just wanted to say that just because a warehouse can be built there, doesn't mean it should be built there. I mean, honestly, other things or something else can be built on that property. I mean, we've had land here sitting for a very long time. We could wait a little bit longer for something better to come in that's going to actually make the residents here that live around that area happy. So I think that it's best that you don't, pass this to go through. But sadly, hearing you guys on the planning commission kind of upset me. All I heard was laughing, giggling, talking about bocce ball. I mean, literally, this warehouse is going to be built behind homes, right behind homes. And it doesn't seem to be taken seriously. Us residents are the ones that are going to have to deal with the mess and the aftermath of this warehouse being built. But it doesn't seem that anybody, city council, planning commission is taking that seriously enough. I literally live 2 minutes down the street from where this warehouse is going to be built. And it should not be built because that is going to hurt my family in my home, the children that live around there. It's going to be a big pollute. It's going to have lots of semis in that area. It should not be built there. Another thing is, there were families who lived on that street, but they didn't show the pictures were shown to you of the families that used to live there and all the houses lined up around it. They didn't show no pictures of that. But people lived in homes right there until developers kept bugging them to buy the land right there because they already knew what they were going to do right there on Wilson. They wanted to fill that whole area up with warehouses. And guess what? My friend ended up having to leave and move because a developer bought that land because they kept bugging them over and over again. And one day she saw construction and she saw that other warehouse that was brought up. And all of a sudden, she would walk out her door and she saw a huge warehouse across the street from her. And on the left side of her was a marijuana dispensary. So she packed her family up and they left. And now there are no homes right there and there's no families there because developers came in and they bought up the land because they're going to put more warehouses right there. And they're going to fill all that up with warehouses. So don't tell me that nothing else can be built there. Something else can be built there because there were actually families living on that street right there. And I think you really need to look into other things being built. But it seems like you're not putting enough action into it. Please stand up for us. Stand up for us residents who live there. Please help us out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure. Is anyone else, guys? I don't have any.
Chair Hammond, that is, it appears to be all the public comments we have this evening.
Okay. Thank you very much. Obviously, there's no one here, but I'll say it's offered up for public comment for anyone sitting in the audience, and I don't see one, so. Okay, we'll close the public comment portion. And I'll leave it to the attorney whether we should have comments from the applicant in response, since this is a DPR, not a, if they choose to do so, or if you choose, that we could open up.
Well, Mr. Chair, before we close the public hearing part, yes, the applicant should be afforded the opportunity to provide a rebuttal, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. If they would like one. So do we need to open up the public hearing again? Or?
Yeah, the public hearing, let's just say, was never
okay,
closed.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And it's Mr. Bermudez.
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, thank you once again. I believe the staff and the environmental response to the comments are more than adequate to bring up the concerns. In regards to the bigger picture item, obviously you all know this is the North Paris specific plan. We've done everything to meet the standards and provide amenities to meet those or exceed those standards. And we request your favorable approval tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we close the public hearing and bring it to the commission for comments, discussion. Either way you want to go.
I'll go ahead and start,
Okay.
Commissioner Gomez. Thank you for the community. I've always been an advocate, and I love it when the community responds and gives their feedback and what they want and their voice heard. I'm glad that they took the time to be here with us today. Mr. Alex made a very good point, and so did some others who are understanding that the Paris Valley Specific Plan, this is a zoning issue that cannot be changed. I can ask the city staff if we can build a business there, commercial business. The answer is going to be no. Can we put a park there? The answer is going to be no. Can we put a shopping center there? The answer is going to be no. Why? Because of the zoning issue, because there's an airport that we live right next to. And that doesn't go on deaf ears. We do enjoy what we do up here, and we do take it very seriously. However, this is a zoning issue that was established a very long time ago. There are airplanes that come and go, and it is a huge liability to the airport to have any other kind of development in that specific area. What's going to happen once it's built out? There won't be any more zoning. Now, if you were to consider a zone change, and we had an applicant come up here with a zone change for an area that is first and foremost building or residential, then you have a completely different conversation up here going on. Then you have a question as to why do you want to take away a residential area and make it into a commercial or make it into an industrial or light industrial area. Then that is where we understand your concerns. However, at this point, has been zoned as is, and the concerns do not fall on deaf ears. However, again, our hands are tied in this specific area. I look forward to seeing what will be built in the future after this area, this zone that is specific and that is locked in. After this is built out, I'm excited to see what else we can focus on. And I, like some of our listeners mentioned, building those pathways, those other things that can benefit the community. That's what we want to focus, is what we can do. And we can't make it any clearer than that. So as far as there were some other comments that were made last time we were here as well. And I did my own research. There was a mention of, with warehouses, high school students are less likely to go to college because there's a warehouse that they live next to. And I could not find any information online to support that comment. I did my research. And I can honestly tell you that there is nothing that supports that other than if you live in a suburb, you have a higher chance of getting accepted into an urban university because of the location where you come from. So again, it doesn't fall on deaf ears. We're listening to you, and that's why we're here, because we care and we want to make this better. But sometimes we live in the city of Paris, and that's the way it's zoned. And I'm excited to see what else is going to be coming in. I err on the side of caution when I make comments as well, especially when I hear some members of the community who represent themselves and have a past that we know was inclined towards having some kind of backing from these developers. So I would err on the side of caution as well. And that is all I have to say.
Thank you. Mr. Lopez, whoever wants.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I just want to reiterate what Commissioner Gomez said, that we do have our hands tied when it comes to these type of projects in regards to the zoning. But we are trying our best as commissioners to make sure that we are looking out for the residents, making sure that certain details are being looked into. I did bring up like the light pollution that's going into the residents on the east side of the building as well. And as well as the traffic, because there's a lot of residents on the south side of that project, making sure that there's no trucks going into that area. And it's just stuff like this that we do got to look into as commissioners on every single project moving forward.
Okay. Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Jimenez, and I want to, being in this position is really hard because I agree with every single comment that came through. I know I've come before city council and, been against the warehouse with the zone change and unknowingly also against a warehouse going into land that was zoned for this type of building. And I know zoning changes, so I think what happens sometimes is a long time ago before the Air Force Base was there, the land was zoned a certain way. And then when it comes in, land is rezoned, but the ones that are existing there already are kind of locked into that original one. But when they sell or something happens, then it kind of transfers the zoning. I really appreciate everybody coming in, and I agree, the air quality is impacted, the health declines. I also live within 4 or 5 minutes from where this is going up. And I think having that, because I have brought it up before, what is our alternative? Our alternative is March Air Force leaves, but we would lose so much employment and there would be so much loss. So I think our opportunity is to be able to mitigate some of that or try to maximize what we can within our limitations. And, it is sad that they're right behind homes. I bought my home back in 2010, and I didn't know zoning. I didn't know what was going to be on there. I really drove down Ramona expecting a Target, a Stater Brothers. Like, it was perfect for me. I was like, okay, when this develops, it's going to look so nice and fancy. Well, come to find out, it's not zoned for that. But we are hoping, and we do plan. I think the development of the houses on Evans and Ramona is going to create a new opportunity. Our commission during previous meetings has also met and had planning for multi-family housing, different kinds of development to also bring that in. I would love to see our city grow and have job opportunities for different levels, different opportunities. But right now, in situations like this, our hands are tied. The only real contributions we can make are to make it as pretty and accessible and as beneficial as we can.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Shadley?
So it would always be nice, many people don't do their research sometimes when they purchase a house.
Like me.
Sometimes those homes are there before the zoning changes occur, and they, it's inevitable that they kind of get trapped for not knowing or, not standing up at that time when zoning changes do occur. But, some people should perhaps go look at the zoning, what is being zoned around them to see what potentially could be built next to their home. But like the other Commissioner Gomez and Commissioner Lopez has stated, that it's unfortunate that we have an airport that's just north of us that is dominant over what can be placed on in some areas of the city. That we've stated over and over and over again, multiple meetings, multiple planning commissions. It's unfortunate that if an owner comes up and says wants to put something other than a warehouse there that can be cited in the light industrial zone, please come forward and put something there. But we're restricted to what can be in those areas. And if an owner of the property wants to build a warehouse there, we really can't deny that from them because that is what that zone is zoned for. So Other than that, I believe the building architecture and the landscaping around the property being more than what is required, and I hope that the owner works with the city to provide additional landscaping or quantity of planting on the east side of the property, maybe more lush to be a little bit more concealing as much as possible. But the architecture looks good. I believe I stated with the other property just south of it that the architecture was exceptional. And again, it's standing out what the design of the warehouses used to be in the city of Paris has greatly improved over the last 8 years or so since at least I've been on the commission. But that's a goal of ours to at least make, not making, something like a warehouse an eyesore. As I stated a long time ago, hey, these buildings are 1,000 feet long. What do you do with, and how do you make such a eyesore look appealing? And it's becoming to fruition that it's succeeding. And we're doing our best to at least make these buildings more appealing to the city of Paris.
Okay, I'll try not to prolong it. One thing I appreciate, we're getting public comment. We're not here to make any comments. We just listen. And that's why it's public free speech, and you make comments, and we want public comment. We've always been asking for it, and there's been empty spaces out there. But we appreciate the fact that the public's getting involved in this. Let me say this, and I'm going to be as nice as I can be about saying it, because I could really get down and get ghetto, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to say this. Number one, I appreciate the staff here. The staff works hard. We have a great staff, and they're very listening, attentive, and we have a good relationship with them. I'm not going to say that about other cities, because I'm a Paris person, and I've been here, you said 20 years, I've been here 32 years. I've been on the commission almost 20 years. I think I probably know more about what's going on up here than anybody. Okay, so I've seen more environmental impact reports than probably most people in Riverside County. I've probably seen, and when I came in 2002, there was a housing boom for about 3 or 4 years, and it was constantly about housing. One of the main issues the council faced, and we faced, is the jobs housing ratio. The only thing that was coming in was housing, but we weren't getting anything else. Now, you guys weren't here, but John Houston, I think, was one of these people that was a economic person. I think Richard may or may not remember, but he was the guru out here for that, and he predicted warehouses in 2005. Let me let you on a quick secret. 2005, I'm not going to get into details about who the developer was, but one of the things we were proposing, and I proposed it, was things like a hotel, things like municipal center, things like that, some sports entertainment, and I got blasted, okay, by the newspaper. Whole articles that went after me, okay. So you talk about somebody with guts, okay. They took the whole article to go after us. Now, I wasn't racially motivated, but I thought that was rather interesting because I was willing to stand up and say, no, let's do something different, and I got beat up for it. That was 2005. So if looking at that, the reality of the fact that you have environmental impact reports in CEQA, and I've taken CEQA, you have to take into account those things that are encumbrances. Number one, March Air Force Base. It's not going anywhere. Okay. Number two, you also have the multi-species habitat conservation. That's not going anywhere. A lot of these things are state mandated, federal mandated. So we can say what we like in the city, but those things come down from the state, like CEQA. CEQA has certain specifications. You have to meet those specifications. They lay them. If you have a criticism, you got to go to the state. Good luck getting the state to change that. You also have Housing and Community Development Department, the state of California. They set guidelines. WRCOG sets guidelines. There's a lot of things that are outside our span of control, and you just have to work within those. We have a railway that splits the city. We have a freeway that splits the city, right? So you have two airports, you have a railway, and you have that splitting the city. So you don't have that contiguous city necessarily. It's divided in size. So you have different communities. So there are a lot of things that become impediments that make it very difficult. I was never one to do a lot of warehouses, but the realization of the airport, which is not going anywhere, is one of those things you have to work around it. The only thing I would take issue with is to say that people aren't serious here. There isn't anybody up here that is not serious. Okay? We may laugh and joke, but that's to relieve some of the stuff that we have to go through to read this stuff. So that would take issue with that, and that's the only thing I would take issue with. Everyone up here is serious. If you know how much time was spent reading, and I used to read 467-page EIA reports, in addition to working 9 hours a day, driving 75 miles one way. Okay, so I would never want to say that people are not taking it serious. I would just say, this is, in a planning commission, you are restricted. You're quasi-legal, quasi-judicial. You have certain things that you're confined to make decisions under a certain category. For instance, zoning. If it's zoned general industrial, there are things under general industrial. If it's zoned light industrial, there are things that go under light industrial. If a person is proposing a zoning change or something like that, that's different. But they're zoned that way. In 2005, when they did the general plan, the zoning was taken into consideration. There was environmental impact reports done, and that's why zoning and your council approved it. This is prior to all of these warehouses coming and not necessarily knowing they were all going to be here. But because you have an airport, because you have these impediments, that's one of the reasons why these things are done. May agree or not agree, we are confined to that fact that you have these things that are put upon you. So basically what you look at is when something comes before us, like this project, which I'm getting to. This project has already in an area south of there that already has a building. And it's right inconsistent with that. You have a separation. They said right next door. No, there's a separation. That multi-habitat species area is there because it's mandated that you can't build anything within there. So that's a 500-foot separation, right? So the city put a trail on the other side, and then you have residences. What we try to do finally on a project like this is make sure that we do aesthetics, we can have as much landscaping to make sure the building, we beat up developers. And I know they spend more money because of us. We make the designs, we save glass, we save this kind of interior, we save, that's what we can do with our purview. And the key word is purview. Within your purview, you can ask for these things. You can talk about streets, you can talk about egress and ingress. Those are areas you can do. Okay. Beyond that, it becomes the balancing act between those that come in, like your carpenters, people say, we want jobs, we want union jobs, and these people are getting supported. The other side says we don't want that. The policy issue I leave for the council. For us, it's a matter of, does it fit in that particular zoning, and does it meet the criteria under CEQA? Does it meet those criteria? Those are questions that the city answers, and that's Web Associates. Those are things that you look at. It's hard, but that's your criteria, so it makes it difficult. I'm just explaining it for the last time. So like you said before, understanding all those obstacles is necessary for the city to make that plain, that these are impediments. Not that they agree, not that they disagree, that these are natural impediments that you have to deal with. So how you overcome them, I think we do a lot here by making the developer jump through a lot of hoops, and the staff too. But you do that because that's within our purview, okay? I don't have a problem with this project. In essence, I think we've looked at the things we could look at. I think the egress, the separation, the circulation around that is not a problem. We can always increase landscaping. You can always have higher fences. You can do that things, but this is light industrial and proposing light industrial. So if someone wants to, I always say to people out there, if you have a different idea what you want to put in there, bring it forth. I haven't heard in 20 years. I'm not talking 5 years. I mean 20 years on this commission, I still haven't heard it. Okay. What do you propose to do with that person who has $20 million worth of land and is paying taxes on that and wants to do something with it? Okay. If you owned it, what would you do? So are you going to put a park there? Parks are $8 to $12, $15 million just to put a park there. Okay. If you get the grant. So, these are issues that we have to balance, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying you have to balance the jobs ratio. You have to balance that. And you also have to balance the aesthetics. We try to do the best we can to balance that, and I think this project just fits within that zoning. Okay, may not be perfect. It may not everything we like, And we've done better than we did 10 years ago. I think these projects that we keep advancing in terms of our asking of them to do certain things, and I think Candace knows how much we ask the developers, but we keep trying to improve and better ourselves within the purview and the scope that we can do it. And I think this project just fits into that. Like it or not, it's one of those things that is zoned that way. It was zoned that way 2005, 6, 7. The whole general plan was passed. That would have something you'd have to pursue, the general plan change. Another 20 to 25 million if you want to change the general plan. Good luck. Okay, so that's a major issue to have to change that whole entire zoning thing to reflect what? Then you have to bring in owners of properties. They have to be, all that thing is a requirement for general plan, and that's a long-term process. So that, I said all the saying, and that's one of the few times I'm going to make a speech, but I think we have to take in consideration for this project. This project stands alone on itself. Does it meet our criteria? Does it meet the aesthetics? Does it have the building things? I don't really have any issues with it. And I think it's a futures thing. I think some of the things they brought up, fine, but that's future things. There's policy issues, there's council issues. The planning commission is really kind of cut and dry. So I think that's enough said for me for the night, I think. But I appreciate the opportunity, and it was put together rather well. Long time, Mr. Bermudez. I know you've been relaxing for what, 2 years? And you come back 1 year and you come back to this, right? Okay. Anyway, unless someone else has something else to add. Okay. Okay. So I think we had some things. Okay. So we come to the motion. I think we had some things that we were talking about. Light reflection, I think
The maintenance light reflection?
yeah, and
The
southwest gate at the southwest,
Yes.
from the north passenger vehicle to the trucking area, and the potential for solar panels. And it's not in the flight path, so it can be that. Let's say it was something else.
Additional landscaping?
Landscaping on the east side.
Yes.
Okay.
Trying to block the view as much as
Okay.
possible.
And then there's the condition about graffiti removal, painting within the panel length.
That's the same
Right.
wording.
Yes.
Yes.
I tried to write.
I do believe that graffiti, is there anywhere in the conditions that the block wall should be sealed with graffiti, anti-graffiti coating?
Let me double check. If it's not in there, we'll put a condition for the coding for it.
Okay.
I think that was it.
Okay, so those 5 items, the graffiti being, whatever wording, to be the same palette, original palette, and that'll be anti-graffiti covering, because there is anti-graffiti.
There is
Yeah,
a coating.
Okay,
Makes it easier to clean.
okay. Well, that was 5.
Was it 5?
Can you elaborate on the southwest gate? I just want to make sure I understand.
The separation between the pedestrian traffic and, the vehicle traffic of the cars and the truck traffic.
Yes, okay, I recall that now.
The
Okay,
gate that's.
Because there's a
needs to
gate
be
further
added
in, like right by the truck parking, but there's a little section where the automobiles also have access.
yes, okay, I get it. Okay,
That one.
so just some sort of limit restriction
For fire
for
access, yes.
between the access between the vehicular and the auto, and then the semis along the southwest corner.
Yes.
Okay.
Emergency. Did I miss something?
No, we
Oh,
were just.
okay. I don't want to repeat those 5 because I probably couldn't, but anybody have a motion?
So, Mr. Chair, just make sure we understand the motion that you're
Thank you.
seeking. It's a motion to adopt resolution number 22-03, adopting mitigated negative declaration 2635, and approving DPR 21-00001 to allow construction of a 154,558 square foot industrial warehouse building on approximately 9.7 acres of land located at the eastern side of Wilson Avenue, south of Ryder Street, based on the findings and the conditions of approval, with the 5 modifications as discussed previously.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. Okay, motion by Commissioner Gomez, seconded by Commissioner Jimenez.
Commissioner Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Jimenez,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Shively,
Yes?
Chair Hammond.
Yes.
The vote of 5 yes, this motion passes.
Shame on you guys.
Okay. At this point, we go to this. I mean, I can't imagine anybody wants a break, right? You want to go on through the business item? There's no business items that I can think of. And we go to move on to public comment. Public comments. Anyone who wishes to address the planning commission regarding items not on the agenda may do so at this time. Please walk up to the podium or through Zoom so that the chairman person may recognize you. And again, each speaker will be given 3 minutes to address the planning commission, or if you have a interpreter, it would be an additional 3 minutes.
Chair Hammond, we have a couple public comments.
Okay.
Miss Elizabeth, you have the floor once more. You are unmuted, and you have the floor.
I don't understand why you guys are saying that you can't change zones when in fact they are being changed, so they can't be changed. It's ridiculous that you guys are moving forward with this. Your job is to help the community, not hurt the community. These will, again, they don't have to be built. A plan can be amended. Lake Elsinore amended their plan in 2019. Paris hasn't amended their plan. Work has to be done to help the community, not hurt the community. And the community knows what's happening. We don't need to be speaking to, like, if we're 5-year-olds. You don't have to build this warehouse. And it is, in fact, hurting the community. Again, it's hurting our air. It's hurting our children. It's hurting the schools. I don't understand why you're moving forward with this when it doesn't have to be built. Something else can be built. Moreno Valley has a Sam's Club. They have a Costco. Something else can be built. It can be rezoned. Or else, why is there a commission?
That it? Okay, thank you.
We have a final public comment here from a Mr. Benjamin. Your mic is now unmuted, and you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that basically I noticed that, like, for just warehouse projects in general, a lot of the times the March Air Force Base compatibility plan is brought up as to why the limits are there, and I understand those limits, but in a lot of the places that we're talking about, within those purviews, there are exceptions to those compatibility plans. I know, for instance, in the C1 zoning of land use, there's office spaces, there's tons of gas stations, fast food restaurants, even in the most restricted zoning, such as B1. So I think that it's not an excuse, I think. I think that Paris, obviously Moreno Valley is dealing with it differently. Riverside's dealing with it differently, to where they're able to zone things to where they could abide by those restrictions and not put warehousing there, such as in the D location, there is Costco, and near the green, it is a Sam's Club. So I think there is ways to go about it, and I know the commission is working on those restrictions, but that doesn't mean that you have to put a warehouse. What you can do, what is in your purview to do, is vote no. Wait till there's a general plan change, wait till there is developers that the Paris city administration should be seeking. Wait for those developers to change the zoning. That way the people who own the land could sell it to maybe a commercial or another residential development, and you could approve a general plan change. There are ways to do things, and there are ways to, your hands aren't tied, because if it was tied, why even have a commission? Because it's just simply meeting points. So I think that you do have the purview to vote no and the purview to at least obstruct things so things can change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anybody else? Or?
One at the final bell. We have Mr. Alex Marin.
Okay.
Your mic is unmuted, and you have the floor,
Okay.
sir.
I know it's redundant. I'm sorry, but I brought it up before. Just some air conditioning and heating. I brought it up before a couple projects back, and it's something that's, it's the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum. Having some air conditioning in these buildings. If you've ever worked in one, the temperature is hotter than it is outside, and it's colder than it is outside. I know these buildings are huge, but I've been to other countries where they have industrial buildings. I've been to Argentina, and they have industrial buildings, and they have air conditioning. I know here they usually use the excuse like, oh, it's too big, it costs too money per square foot, but it's the bare minimum. They're already building it. Why not just add it? I wish you guys can put a little more pressure on these developers to have air conditioning and heating, because it's really necessary, especially in this desert region, because at night it gets super cold. In the morning, it's super hot. It's the bare minimum. But that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I can't tell if there's anyone else. No one else? Okay. Yeah. There's no one else here. Okay, we close the public comments and move on to commissioner members' announcements or reports.
I just want to say thank you, of course, to city staff. Always, you guys always go above and beyond for us. So I just want to stretch out that thanks to you guys, and also thank you to the public for your comments. We are listening to you, and I know sometimes we do pull ideas from you guys, like that trail that one of you mentioned, looping twice. I think that's a great idea. That's something that we could for sure implement in the future. So I do want to encourage more public comment. I do appreciate you guys coming out and speaking on the meetings. Also, we still are fighting this virus, so I want to encourage you guys to go above and beyond and staying safe and take precautionary measures by staying healthy, drinking water, drinking a lot of fruits and vegetables, doing minimal workouts regularly. I feel like that goes a long way. And besides that, I just want to say I hope you all have a good night.
Okay, thank you.
I'll go. This is Commissioner Gomez. Thank you to the city staff, who's always very willing and wanting to help out and answering our questions, and also, in my case, teaching me and allowing me to learn the process as I move forward, and being my first year with Planning Commission. I feel blessed, and I do, every time we come up here, we say the Pledge of Allegiance. It means a lot to me. I still get the butterflies in my stomach when we say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I even say a little prayer in my head, because I really believe that God puts these levels of governance in communities to help, and I'm a big believer that God will allow us to make the best decisions that we can with the knowledge that we have and what is at our disposal. And I do ask for the prayers of the community as well, so that this decision body up here can be more successful and be able to can do our job to the best of our abilities. Thank you to the public for sharing your opinions, always in a respectful and very concerned manner, in what is on their mind. And I think it's great to see that there's a higher response to the members of the community. And I think someone made a very good point, and I didn't want to finish without making it known that I do believe, I agree that the projects that are coming in and that are up for review, the 30-day review should be available electronically, should be available online. I have inquired about this in the past, and it's not just me anymore. Now the public is asking for it, and I think there should be a way to be able to provide it for them as well. And I'd like to see some numbers on the amount of Paris residents that are, as the Southwest Carpenters mentioned, they said that we should select skilled workers from the Joint Labor Management Apprenticeship. I'd like to see what those numbers look like of the residents who do qualify for that in the city of Paris and Riverside County. I mean, I think that's a good. It's interesting. It would be interesting to see, how many, what is the percentage in this area? And that could be, something that could be, maybe turned over to city council, because there's nothing we can do about that information. But, turn it over and see what the advice would be from city council, city management, and see what can be done if that is their concern. And these very large packets that keep coming our way. So let it be meaningful, and I think that information would definitely help, and turned over to the appropriate department or unit that is responsible. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you all have a great upcoming weekend, and Godspeed, and we'll see each other next time.
Thank you. And Commissioner Jimenez.
I also want to thank staff. I know it seems like every time we're having less and less questions for development and staff, and that only is because staff is listening to the questions we have. We heard tonight the developers are listening to our previous commission meetings to kind of know what they're coming up against. So I appreciate that. And I also wanted to still address Mr. Marin's comment about the AC and heating. I have brought that up before because I have worked in a warehouse, and it is horrible. I mean, I suffer from migraines, and I would come home with a migraine very frequently during the summertime because of the heat, no matter how much water I drank. So I like that, and I know staff had been looking into comparables or what other cities are doing or how we can move forward, the regulations, because I agree, even when you're working at nighttime, you have to wear gloves, and when you're handling boxes and moving things around with gloves, it's hard too. So thank you. And I agree with the transparency. We do see a lot on social media about the Little Caesars coming up, the, KFC coming up. We put that we put that on social media, we publicize it, because I know that public wants to see it, but I think the public also wants to see these kinds of things just to have the opportunity to come. I want to encourage community to keep coming and voicing their opinion. I know I've been in your shoes. It feels very frustrating when you feel like you're not being heard. But the more we hear the message, the more developers hear the message, we have more power in numbers. And I also wanted to just bring up our community, tragically on Friday, lost a very valuable member who was a great friend, great mentor, and colleague. He had been a teacher at our local schools. Now he was working at a district level, and he was working with children in the Valverde district and really promoting positive behaviors, just that connection to students, making school a better place. And we tragically lost him. So I just wanted to recognize that Mr. Jason Remington had a huge impact in our schools, in our children, the teachers, and everybody that had the opportunity to work with him.
Thank you.
Good.
Vice Chairman Shively.
Maybe I can address some of the issues with the air conditioning in warehouse spaces. One is by building code in Title 24, using a AC component into warehouse space would never comply with the Title 24 and energy calculations. Would never be able to pass. If you think about a space that's 500,000 million square feet, with a high volume of 300, or 30 to 40 square feet high, the volume of air conditioning and that you have to cool off to even to get a piece of cooling down on the floor level, we'll never be able to to work. You're talking about so many tons of air conditioning, so much electricity to be able to get that to be compliant. I understand the working conditions are not favorable during certain points of the day, but it's unfortunate that these areas can never really be able to be compliant, even if you try to get the condition on the first floor or the first 10 to 15 feet, which is the working space. It will never work. The cost of it, the energy efficiency that's needed to comply with it, it's unfortunate that it can't be compliant. So.
Okay. Thank you for your expertise. Two things real quick. One, we're glad to see our city attorney back from vacation. He had the nerve to come back yesterday and come here today, and then he suffers again, right? Well, we were good while you were away, so we didn't mess up. A secret meeting we had, but we meant to tell you about. Okay. Matter of administrative thing. Obviously, Ryan knows where your cards are. I doubt if anyone picked them up other than me. But they're there. This is a sample of the new one. It's slick. You can have it. And it's fancy. It's very nice. But just come to the office. There's there. Sylvia went through I don't know, was it 500 of them? I forgot how many. But they're really nice, and it's really important to have. And I still have another batch, but you hand them out. But I don't want anybody to call me, but no, just kidding. But the idea is they were made, so you can pick them up at the counter at any time. Just walk in, and he'll get them for you. Ryan does so many different things. Don't leave the Menifee either. Okay? But he does so much, and he's kind of jack of all trades. So we really appreciate it. And other than that, I think we have a lot of stuff coming on. I appreciate the public's interest. It don't mean to sound that way, but I'm just saying we need public input. But I think one of the things it starts doing is saying that when you have community meetings, it needs to be something where you start allowing it to be a more relaxed atmosphere, where people understand the zoning. I don't think anybody understands general plan, really, unless you've been involved with it as long as they. What does it mean? Why is it zoned this way with these things? I think there would be good dynamic to have that, even if it's Zoom, to say, oh, this is zoned, and under light industrial, you can do this. Amendments are fine, but the person owning the property has to decide they want to do it. It's the other side. So then what are the economic interests balanced with the other? So I think that kind of open forum kind of thing would be very helpful, even if it's once or 6 months or 3 months. When you see people, it's one thing for Zoom, it's another thing seeing people face to face. So when they say this is the general plan that was established several years ago, what can we do or not do to change that? Those are instructional things you can do as government. I would do as an LA city employee. But here, you need to really do that because a lot of the concerns are, well, you can't do this, you can do that. Why do you have MH says, well, the state requires this. Why do you have that? Because the feds require this, because this. They don't know. Okay? And so I don't want to assume because we sit here and listen to it and get the stuff that they're supposed to know. Why are the building heights? Why do you have to use these setbacks? Why? Why is this in this area? Well, why warehouse buildings? Well, there was a time there was nothing, but why? What are the economics involved? Is the economic decision versus that? And so there's a lot of reasons, and I think it would just be good to generally get people involved in understanding the basics of that. And that means meetings, community meetings like we do for recreation parks, like we do for housing authority, and they have a good program in here in housing. Same thing for planning. And I think it's a tough issue sometimes because it gets really down in the details. But the parameters even a commission. Your do's and don'ts, what you can do and what you can't do. You can't do certain things, and there are things you're confined, and there's things you can do. The council can do a lot of things because they're voted. We can't. So I think even just that basic understanding of that would be helpful at some point in time in the near future. And anyway, that's it for me. I don't have anything else. And like you said, be safe. We're still wearing masks, and I've got my shot. I think I'm shot up. Booster shot, and walking zombie after a while. But no, I really appreciate it, the staff, and I appreciate the comments and the concern. And yes, this is a dedicated group here. Okay, I must defend this group. This is a very dedicated group. Questions were asked and very involved. Okay? And I turn it over to the Director of Developmental Services and a few other titles he has, Planning Manager and the Czar of the Cannabis. Any other titles?
Good evening, Chairman Hammond and members of the Planning Commission. Always glad to be here and to work through these projects with you and trying to find a solution that that's consistent with the code and brings a good project to the city, and we appreciate all the feedback you provide us. In terms of the feedback, in terms of having a meeting regarding the zoning, the history, I'll work at developing a future presentation just to go through some history behind the zoning and kind of walk through the history. We do have to do some research, as you mentioned, as far as we could find so far back to 2005. Most of the zoning that you see, this industrial, has been there since that time. We can look back further the record. It just takes some time to look through that record and try to decipher what happened before, and maybe these properties were even zoned industrial even before that time because of the March Air Force Base, because that base has been around since at least the 1950s or even earlier. So they have been around for quite a bit of time, but they have expanded their operation through the course of history. So we do have to look into that record and kind of share what has transpired, so people can get an understanding of why we have the zoning we do have, and hopefully that will kind of have some clarity for at least the public and for the commissioner and for ourselves as we kind of look through the history. So that might take a little bit of time, but as you mentioned, maybe in a couple months I'll come back with some presentation regarding why certain things happen. In regards to all these SEQO documents, just wanted to just inform the commission that when we do send out the notice, we do provide a link for where these documents are located. So maybe we can figure out how to make that more accessible or easily to locate. But all these documents, you can come to our office, but these are like 300, 400, sometimes 500 pages, and you have all these links to like studies that are related to it. I mean, it could add up to 800 pages or more in some cases. So we typically encourage people to have a link. If they want to have a copy, we can share with them that copy in the office, or we do have to charge if people want the whole document at some point. I mean, we have to kind of figure out how that would work. We don't want to print unnecessary paper, but we do understand certain people have needs or don't have access to maybe the internet, and those individuals we'll work with in terms of getting them the document. But just want to know that if someone needs a document, they can email our office. Matthew Evans, when he put that slide about his email, if anyone needs any document, they can email him, or they can go to the planning webpage. It's fairly easy to navigate. Well, I wouldn't say easy to navigate, but there's some tricks to it. If you just Google City of Paris planning, and the first highlight should take you to the planning webpage. To start off at the main webpage would be difficult to navigate through. My trick is, if I want to find something, I want to find a specific plan, I Google City of Paris specific plan. It'll take you to the top link is the specific plan, and it has all the specific plans for you. Maybe I'll have a presentation of how to navigate through the city website. That might be a future presentation, but there's tricks to getting through and navigating through it that might be a little bit more complicated if you go to the main webpage. But if you just do keywords, it can get you to where you need to go. But I'll figure out a plan for that. But it just maybe in the next couple of meetings. But we'll figure that out. Beyond that, we did do some surveys. I do need to get back to you regarding what other cities are doing for their industrial projects. But I just wanted to give you a glimpse of what we haven't, I guess, just kind of mention to you that our requirements are in general are more significant than the surrounding cities in terms of their obligations for amenities, landscaping. We are significantly more, but I will need to put all that survey together. We just have limited resources, and the economy is doing so well, it just takes a little more time to kind of gather the data together. But at some point, I will bring back to you a survey with a table identifying just what we require versus what others require. So that is in the works. It's not forgotten. It just takes a little time sometimes to get to it. The last thing is just for your planning purposes, we do have another meeting on February 16th. So it's a smaller industrial project, 40,000 square feet. So I just want to put that on your radar, so just be prepared for that. And in a week from now, I believe the report will come out. And with that said, I have no further comment. I wish everybody a good evening. And we'll see you in 2 weeks.
And with that, it's adjournment. And if you would like, we can adjourn it in the name of Mr. Jason Remington, and as a tribute. So as a tribute to that person, go on the record, and if there's no objections. Okay, so all in favor of adjournment? We're all in favor. I can't imagine it's 9 o'clock. Thank you, our engineer, too. We didn't forget about you over there. Okay.